Kirk is not an attorney. This is not legal advice. This is to be considered for educational purposes only.
Welcome to Chris, Kirk, and Ted's Excellent Adventure Call-In Show, if we're still calling it that. Welcome to Kirk's Law Corner Live. This is the call-in show, so please call in to get legal opinions. Not advice, but opinions. How you doing, Kirk?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Ted? Welcome aboard, Chris.
What's going on, Kirk? How you guys doing? Oh, just informing everybody that I actually made it back on time to catch the show tonight. I was beginning to worry there for a while.
What was happening?
Oh, just a busy day. I'm out trying to network with some businesses to get some, funding and some other projects I'm working on off the ground. So nothing to formally announce as of yet, but we're making some serious headway. I can tell you that right now. Funding and some
fantastic
other, projects I'm working on off the ground.
You having some technical difficulties, Kirk?
I'm just bringing up my phone here and was trying to bring the volume down so we didn't get any feedback.
Oh. Yeah, that happens to me.
And a share.
Yep, working on it.
Yeah, we
feel like I've been playing catch up all day.
We usually have
You've
time.
Been playing catch up? I love catch up.
Right.
We usually start things early for the Monday night show, but I kind of like that we just start it right up on Wednesdays, get right into it.
Right.
Let's see. So what's the... Oh, so we have Christy Carr. Welcome, Christy. She says this is the first time she is tuning in. So, Christy, if you have a question on your mind about, a legal question that you'd like to not necessarily get advice on, but get an opinion on, please call the number above. It's 1-408-638-0968, and then it will prompt you to enter an ID 376-657-800. Oh, I have Mondays up there still. I need to change that to Wednesdays. There we go.
Yep. Welcome to the Wednesday night Kirk, Chris, and Ted's Excellent Adventure Call-In Show. This is the new show that we've added to our lineup here because we see the need for people to call in and ask questions, and we'll answer them to the best of our ability.
Yeah, basically what would you do if you were in blah? And those we can answer. What we would do if we were in the blah 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 would be blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's blah, blah, blah. Capital BLAH, but that depends. You're right.
Is that how you spell that? Phonetically? So on Monday night, we went over the proclamation put out by President Trump on December 6th. And if you watched that show, if you go back and watch that show, it's our archive there on Kirk's Law Corner. You can watch that at any time YouTube, the Marchis YouTube channel or the Marchis channel page, Twitter. But it basically brings back that rule of law, the rule of law, which is, you know, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. That's what we actually call the common law. That's the common law.
Right.
Your rights are common to all. That's what the common law is.
Yep.
And it's actually a jurisdiction, a separate jurisdiction established in Article 3 as part of our form of government. We're supposed to have the common law jurisdiction and chancery jurisdiction, which is equity, real estate. So that's the two jurisdictions that are supposed to be on the land per the rule of law. Our form of government is established, you know, September 17th, 1787, Article 3, Section 2. The other two jurisdictions is admiralty jurisdiction and maritime law, which is the law of the sea of contracts. And admiralty law or admiralty jurisdiction is actually delegated to the federal government on military bases and all things foreign. That's an administrative court. That's the four jurisdictions that we have here in this country. And we're not allowed to have any other jurisdictions. They're allowed to create other courts. Tribunals is what that Article 3 actually says, that all judicial power is vested in one Supreme Court.
Right.
Such other courts or tribunals as the legislature may create in accordance with the law of the land. That's part of what Article 6, Clause 2 talks about is, you know, this Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
Right. You know, and it's funny too. But I just want to jump in and say hi, Neely, Brenda, Linda, Holly, everybody that's catching up, joining us now. I don't feel so bad that I'm the only one that was running really late today. I like many of us, it felt like Monday again. I hit the ground this morning with my feet already in motion, and I haven't stopped since. So, yeah, I get it. So, but you know, it's funny that you're right. It's you know, over this period of time with this political nonsense that it's erupted, the artificial right and the artificial left, knowing that it's all the same crap. You know, it took them, you know, a couple hundred years to finally sell that there's a right and a left to people, and there are people now actually buying it. You know, it's like, no, that's an artificial construct, you know, created by those attorneys that snuck their way back in, right? And just, you know, put a little nudge here and a little piece over there, and, you know, never let a good crisis go to waste over there. And, you know, all of that crap that they've, you know, reconstructed over the years to basically re-implement the crap that we declared independence from. Right. So, you know, we literally made a full circle. You know, we went around this whole damn thing. And, you know, it's funny because, you know, I was talking with my dad about this the other day, and, you know, I said, you know, I've always wondered what the hell happened when I was at work. Well, now I know what happened while I was at work. So, you know, bring the briefcase home, set it down. Okay.
Yeah.
Where did these wheels come from? Wagon.
I think we'd be a lot better off if we went back to the old-fashioned way. You know, one parent being the breadwinner, and you know, in today's day and age, that could be either parent. So, you know, not necessarily exactly the old-fashioned way because of, you know, simple facts. You know, women have equal rights now, and dang it, you should be just doing what I tell you to do and like it. Sarcasm, folks. But,
Make me a sandwich.
That's the way things were supposed to be, or they're supposed to be, is, you know, without government interference, and basically one partner works, is the sole breadwinner, and
right.
You know, leaves time for the other parent, significant other, whatever, to I don't know, get educated on things that are going on around the country, in their state, even locally, you know. So, but they've taxed us literally to death, and causing us to destroy our families and rely on other people to raise our children instead of being able to raise our children how we see fit.
Right.
And, you know, part of the, you know, child rearing is educating your child. So homeschooling, that's not even really an option too much anymore unless you're, you know, got a really good job.
Right. And it's, you know, it's complicated. Remember back when we were in school, the standing joke was, you know, your parents aren't your parents. Your parents were Axl Rose and Madonna. You know, remember those old jokes? And, you know, in hindsight, you know, some of that was true, but, you know, I don't know about you, but I still, there was still that fear of mom and dad with the head slap to the back of the head if I really did screw up on something. And, you know, but then that was still a time where if, you know, kids, if we got our heads slapped, we had it coming, and everybody knew we had it coming. So, and of course I'm of no exception to that rule. Hey, Laura, how are you doing? Laura Thompson just joined us. I want to say hi. Melanie Wolf. I'm trying to say hi to everybody. Here is.
Thank you for joining us. We're actually going to take our first caller here. So
sweet.
Let's see what we got. 2072. Welcome to the Chris's, Ted's Excellent Adventure Call-In Show. Who are we talking to?
Hey, it's Neely.
Neely. Sweetheart, how you doing?
Oh, Lord, I've had better days. My husband has a broken sternum.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he was just joking around with one of his, I think it's a BM2, like his, not his direct, but like one of the guys above him, and he told him he had a loose thread on his uniform today. Well, he didn't like it very much, and he punched him, and now he's got a broken bone.
With the tank?
Oh, he read his senior chief. He said, I don't want him to get in trouble. And he said, you know, it wasn't malicious or anything, but damn, you know, I'm going to have to punch him. So he's going to be relaxed, and I guess he's going to be on light duty for a little bit. But, yeah, I've had a crazy day. Sorry I'm late joining. But I just have a question. My question is, can I file everything that I'm going to file in every single state that has something to do with, because they're all joined together, and then I guess, how can I join them together? Is there a joiner? How do I join all the states together?
That's a good question, Neely, because I've actually had that same question. And it took me a year worth of fighting over a monopoly to finally get them to admit it. So there's no limit of how many actions you can file. And what you can do is in your multiple jurisdictions, you can open a case. And because you're talking about multi-jurisdiction issues, right? State to state, blah, you can actually petition for the federal court to oversee the multi-jurisdictional issue, right? Now, granted, keeping in mind that the federal court is avoiding family law cases. So what you do is you don't talk about necessarily the family law case. What you talk about the usurpation of power, right, that led to you losing your kids, right? I mean, if that's the case, right? I mean, just this is an example. So
that's the key.
So basically, when you're dealing with the usurpation power issue, you're actually working it backwards, right? So what ends up happening is you've got multiple cases going on in multiple courts, and you simply ask the judge for convenience purposes for the court, not saying that the other jurisdictions should be excluded, but for purposes of, uniformity and, you know, to make sure that everybody's considerations are, you know, accounted for, you know, we wish for the federal court to basically play referee. And,
yeah, well, see, that was my question. Like, do I go back to the original state that I was living in, which was Georgia? Okay, Georgia never got a chance to hear that what South Carolina did when they overstepped their boundaries and took jurisdiction of me and of Mackenzie and I, when we were not, they were not allowed to take jurisdiction. So they automatically started out violating federal law when they, you know, took my daughter in South Carolina. So give Georgia that chance, you know, to say, hey, this is what's going on, you know, and file it in Georgia, but then I don't know if I should go ahead and file it in South Carolina, and then now Kentucky, that's been paid off by South Carolina. So,
well, what you can do is, excuse me, you know, file in, you know, reopen every case, right? And then you take it wherever you are. You guys are military, right?
Yes, we are, and we're located in Washington State right now. So
okay,
I've never even lived on the West Coast.
Okay, and the children are the result of the marriage from, you know, the your husband who's in the military, correct?
Two of my children, my twins, are in Kentucky, but not my oldest daughter in South Carolina.
It's okay because you know, there's ways around that too, but because at least you know, two of the kids are, might be some available relief through the JAG Corps. Now I don't know that for 100% sure, but you would at least want to apprise the JAG Corps of what's going on because of his military service. So what that is a preemptive defense in case they try to come at you guys from the other side saying, oh, there's PTSD. Oh, there's, you know how they love to throw the allegations at you. So you just go out there, you know, look, there's nothing going on. Here's, you know, we've made the JAG Corps aware of it. They're fully aware of what's going on. You keep everybody in the loop. And that's because we did call, and we made an appointment to meet with the JAGs, you know, the lawyers, and we're going to meet them in Washington. But I'm just going to tell, you know, I'm prepared to tell these military attorneys, you know, hey, I know, I just feel like that I know I want to go ahead and pull it out of state court and get it into federal court. But yeah, because I don't want them to get into it and then them mess something up because they don't know everything, you know, and then I don't want to look like I'm lying, you know. But yeah, I definitely agree. Let them know what's going on before I go in and file, because I just didn't know how to join all these states together. Well, and the thing that we're talking about is Fernando just basically said it's called diversity jurisdiction. But the thing that you're going to file would be because a lot of these things are based on the same transactions, occurrences, or events. You're going to file an enjoinder. There actually is in the federal rules for enjoining, you know, multiple jurisdictions that are based in the same, you know, transaction, occurrence, or event. This is the double edge of the sword when they, you know, tried this Title IV enforcement mechanism where they just said, well, we can do this, you know, however the hell we want. Well, the problem with that was they can make an allegation, but you have the right to put your hand up and say, stop, right? I don't consent to that, right? And, you know, you cover where was your standing? You know, what gave you the right to even make such an allegation? You know, from the beginning, like I said, and you work it backwards, and you'd be surprised how effective that is, because now, because they're the moving party, right, in that situation, going under the precept that this is a habeas, right? You've been basically, for lack of a better expression, convicted of a crime that resulted in you losing your kids. That's harm, right? That's a punishment. So, you know, you're going to say that this punishment under a habeas proceeding, that was done illegally, violated what the law says. And it was all based on these guidance documents, and we can talk about that another time. But
well, see, that's another thing I was going to ask you. You know, should I go ahead and file in the court? Because my plan is taking it to the state court and then pulling it out and then taking it into federal court. But should I file the DOJ complaint before or after I file in the state?
Well, I would file the complaint first, right? Because what you're doing is you're informing the DOJ, look, here's the situation, right? And always send copies, never send originals. Don't tell you otherwise. They're lying if they do. Because your originals will get lost. So make copies and you fill out your paperwork and you send it to the DOJ, and they're going to send you a response, right? And whatever that response is, that will tell you what your next action is going to be. Now, when I got mine back, it basically said you have to sue us. So that's what I did. And that's what we're doing now. So if they're still going to take that to that level, that's entirely up to them. But they may decide to say, you know what, because of everything that we're seeing now, right? These issues that have been brought to the federal court, and the federal judges are saying, you know what, we know what's going on here. This is an enforcement issue, and we don't care who the actors are. Go get and arrest the actors and then bring the actors before me, right? We're hoping that's what's going to end up happening. Don't know how close we are, but that's what appears to be on the horizon. So,
yeah, because that's another thing too. Like, I've been asked if I wanted to go to Fox News in New York. You know, do I go get on Fox, or should I file this stuff first? You know, I feel like I need to file this stuff first, and then if I get on Fox News, I wish one of you two would go with me, because I mean, I'm just I can tell my story,
right?
You know, but I feel like I need somebody that can stay on, get on Fox News with me and tell what should be following and how the law of the land has actually been broken here. Mm-hmm. You know, in a week, I know I could prove it all I want to, but
yeah, we'll let Kirk do that. He's cuter than I am.
Oh, sure.
I'll work the support mechanism from on the other side.
I have the brains and the looks too.
What's that?
I said I have to have the brains and the looks too.
Hey, it's the curse, man.
gotta have the brain. Gotta have the brain. But,
at least the ability to comprehend.
There it is.
Yeah.
So I think if you could get on Fox News, that would be killer for everybody. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I know, but I'm so nervous. I don't want to say anything wrong, and I've been victimized so much, and I get that they've done enough to scare me, and but at least I'm knowledgeable that I have been victimized,
mm-hmm. Maybe just on something as simple as tell the truth, right?
Yeah, I do.
Telling the truth. What harm is there in telling the truth? So.
Getting thrown back in jail illegally.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say those days are about over. So,
I'm tired today.
2018 is going to be January? Well, it'll be about the 3rd by the time they get back from their holiday break. But there's going to be a whole lot of changes in judicial process when it comes to the end of the next or the beginning of the next calendar year. So,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. You guys are so smart. I don't even know what I'd do without you guys right now. You're the only two people I listen to and that I listen to that get me going. And like I said, I didn't know how to join the states, and Actually, Florida, if I really wanted to, I could bring Florida into it because, there was a judge in Florida, and she should have never let my daughter back in South Carolina to begin with. She broke federal law when the Uniform Child Custody Jurisdiction Act, when she allowed a judge in South Carolina to call her up and say, hey, she should have protected my daughter in Florida. So really, we've got a bunch of more states going up. It's more than just South Carolina here. It's a bunch of judges. There, 3, 4, 5 judges in a few states.
So the more the merrier, and the more hands are in that pot, the more Title IV money is going around here. So, that would be something that would be interesting to get on Fox, because, you go on and explain, could give you the kind of put together a chart for you. You can run through the chart, how all that money changes hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the everyday, worker finds out that their tax money is going to fund, these parliamentary courts and this child trafficking scheme.
Yeah.
They're going to be a little more than slightly miffed, So
I just pray to God I was smart enough back then to save all my paperwork. I might have hundreds and hundreds of motions and everything that happened, but and I bought the transcript throughout all this. I kept the transcript. See, I was smart enough at least to know that I had to have the proof of everything.
Right.
It might be I might have thousands of paperwork, but at least I've got them in, these 5-inch binders, and pretty much got it in, organized.
And that's the key right there, because eventually things are going to be your timeline, right? When push comes to shove and you gather all this stuff up and you go into federal court and you say, here's where my loss was. On this date, this happened. Here's the document. On this date, this happened. Here's the document. Right. And the thing, like I said, I'm going to preach this the preacher on Sunday. Never, ever, ever give your originals to anybody. You keep them. You can give them 10 copies if they want copies, but never give them an original. The only person who has purview between your originals is you and that federal judge. That's all. Nobody else.
Yeah, I've been told that I have to give up my original to file with the clerk of the court, and I say, really?
No, you don't.
This is an original.
I think the technical term is bullshit, but I'll have to look it up. So yeah, it's and that's funny, Neely, because you and I have that same situation. We cross multiple state jurisdictions, and that's why when I wrote my my most recent action, where I cite what they call entitlement as what the Constitution calls it, which is an emolument. It gives the federal court something to chew on. Why? Because it's written in law. Okay, this exists in the Constitution. Because
thank God you said that. Thank God you said that. Because I never told you this. Yeah, I never told you this, Chris. But when I was reading all into this, and I was in the Constitution, and I was trying to figure out what was going on, and trying to figure out what I was going to do, and trying to figure out what I was going to file, back, 6 months ago, I actually ran into that emolument word. Of course, I remember it, but I remember going, damn, that's what it is, but I don't know what to do with this, and I don't know, how in the hell they're just going to put me in prison. If I tried this with them, back they would have just thrown me in prison. Thank God I'm off probation now. And that was the first step, getting off probation so they couldn't victimize me anymore,
Yeah. Well, and here's the beautiful part about how do we unwind this thing. And the irony is that word is so far reaching because it covers some pretty big topics. It's any advantage, profit, or gain received by basically anybody in government, whether elected or whether they're appointed, right?
Yep.
So that literally is like, think of it as the lasso, the big circle at the end of the lasso where you can whoosh, kind of yank them all back so yeah.
You do not pass go, you do not collect $200, you go directly to jail.
Right. And here would be my way if I were going to, for how I did it. And this is how I had success with it, was I just took a couple of different versions of the emolument. One was an advantage that was used. One was an actual profit where I had proof of a financial transaction. And the other one was proof of a gain that was not money related. It was more of a political clout that was gained, right? Kind of the pay for play crap that we always talk about. I was able to show where I was able to draw the lines in there. And so we've got all of these different versions of this one word that we've never tested in the court, other than my Utah client, which we are just focusing on that one particular actor in that case and how that actor was paid, right? So we said, let's start there and we'll work our way backwards. So that's why, she's been in arraignment since September 12th, I believe. I think 12th was the date, but I'd have to ask her. So, that's what we did when I filed the most recent one here in Florida, was like, okay, well, we started with that. Now we're going to expand this, and we're going to take the dictionary meaning and apply the dictionary meaning and see what the court says about, all of these different versions, right? All of the three, just basically descriptive adjectives that describe what an emolument is, right? The advantage, the profit, or the gain. So, and that's what I'm expecting to take a while. So I'm dug in for the long haul yet again.
I got a question real quick. I see a comment by Marty Lynch.
Yes, that's what I was just going to talk about.
He asked earlier if that was who I is.
He says, why go to federal court? Why not put juries back into family courts to reestablish oversight and authority by the people over the judges? Well, here's my argument, and based in law, the rule of law. Family courts don't exist in the rule of law. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say you can create new jurisdictions.
Right.
Second of all, the marital rights and parental rights both come from the law of nature declared in the Declaration of Independence, which puts those rights outside of government. There is no right, there is no power delegated. Those rights have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. That is supposed to be the common law. It is a common law right. So all of your rights are fundamental rights, or in this case, those particular rights from law of nature, natural rights, those are creator endowed rights. Okay.
Right.
So those are unalienable, and they have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. Period. Correct. There is no authority for my neighbor to create statutory law that would create the marriage contract, because that's converting the right into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. We like to go back to separation of church and state. Marriage is from the Bible. Okay, so under the First Amendment protection, my right to practice my religion how I see fit, that means I have the right to get married through the church, which is where it's supposed to be, in the church, which is a sacred vow, till death do you part. Not whenever you feel like, well, I just don't like this guy no more. I don't like this woman no more, and I want to get a divorce. No, the right itself dictates how it's supposed to happen at the common law. So where it comes from, this is the part where I go back to what are your rights and where do they come from in law? Because where they come in, where they show up in law, where they come from in law, as it is written, okay, dictates the proper jurisdiction.
Well,
Why don't you real quick, if you guys don't mind, Chris, hold on a second. Marty, why don't you call in and talk to Kirk about your idea? Because his idea about doing these secondary juries, it's pretty incredible. If you can imagine putting together a petite.
What do you think the common law does?
Well,
not a jury.
Well, what?
Right,
what,
and
what
to get back to the original question. The original question was, why federal court? And the answer is because there's multiple jurisdictions, right? So that's why federal court, to go in and explain, in this jurisdiction this happened, in this jurisdiction this happened, and in this jurisdiction this happened. It's a way to keep it straight, and for the federal court to be able to find, basically, like I said, act as the referee. And okay, you and you should have never been involved. So, you just go sit over there and be quiet, and we'll call you if we need you.
I think what he's saying is having a petite jury, having an option for a petite jury made up by us in each state, taking 6 people in each state made up of, let's say, the 3 of us lived in one state together, we'd be half of the petite jury in the lower court. Basically telling the lower courts, we're going to give people a secondary option. You no longer have a monopoly. It's an interesting theory.
Right.
Listen, again, where the right comes from in law dictates the proper jurisdiction. The proper jurisdiction is the common law, what is common to all. That means, and I'm going to read it to you here real quick just so we all understand this.
You'll have to read it at least.
Which is protected by the 9th Amendment, right?
Ooh. Well, yeah, it is protected by the 9th Amendment. Yes, most definitely.
We just got a caller. Maybe that is Marty, so we can clear it up. Because maybe I didn't, if you want anything done right, you do it yourself. If you want to be represented correctly, you represent yourself. And that's not just on a show like Kirk, Chris, and Ted's excellent Adventure Collins show. It's also in court. If you want to be represented, knows your case
better than you do.
Right. If you want to be represented correctly, you represent yourself.
Right.
You just need to understand how to do it. And I'll tell you,
through the assistance of counsel, right? Assistance, the operative assistance.
Okay. Yeah. Virginia Declaration of Rights, Article 13. Whoops, 12. No, where in the heck is it?
Marty, why is the divorce so complicated? Marty, I've asked myself that same damn question.
I just had it. Okay, number 11, Article 11, that in controversies respecting property and in suits between man and man, the ancient trial by jury is preferable to any other and ought to be held sacred. Okay. Now, how does your right to a trial by jury actually work? It's a jury of 12 of your peers, of your vicinage. I'm actually trying to look for that one. But it's, that's how the common law works.
Right.
I make my claims against another man. We go in and if I'm the moving party, the defendant is the one that gets to pick their people of their vicinage so that I don't pull the wool over the jury's eyes, because the jury knows the person. And actually in history, with the right to a trial by jury was actually those that were witnesses to whatever happened were to sit on the jury, were to be part of the jury. So this goes back to researching history and actually, again, succession of law and the rule of law, rights as law, the common law, our rights through succession of law, again, to the 9th Amendment, shall not be denied or disparaged. They cannot be diminished. So in the Virginia Declaration of Rights, it says one thing, it cannot be diminished through time as it's rewritten. This is why I'm talking about, where does your right come from in law? It's called the lineage, all the way back to wherever it first originated from. Okay? And at no point in history and time in law, succession of law, can it be diminished. Period.
Right.
Okay? So as it is written in law is the way the rule of law says it is.
Right.
Not how legislators have interpreted it, not how the executive branch has interpreted it, and most definitely not how the judicial branch has interpreted it. There is no power to interpret the law.
Right.
We establish justice,
Right.
not government. We established justice long before government existed. Okay, government is a figment of the imagination. The law is what we say it is because we lay down, ordain, and establish law.
Right.
The only thing that the government has been delegated the authority, it's not a right, it's a privilege.
Right.
To be in that honorary position as an elected official or in a position of public trust. That's the only two types of public servants we have.
Right.
It's an honorary position to be there. And you are not at liberty to disregard our commands, the rule of law, as it is written. And you're not allowed to search for a meaning beyond the instrument. So knowing what the judicial branch's function really is and how it was created is, hi, I'm the judge here. Yes, that is a fact of law. You just put me on judicial notice. And yes, the 9th article of the Bill of Rights says you have other rights that are retained by the people. And those rights shall not be denied or disparaged. You're absolutely right. That's all the judge is supposed to do. That's it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
In a common law court, is just supposed to keep order. It's just a regular person. They're not even supposed to be a real judge. That's the crazy part.
On the head. You just nailed it right on the head. How does all this stuff happen? That's the real question. How did this happen? And the answer is they took this process, right? This judicial process that belongs to them, right? In the foreign entity private corporation known as the, say it with me, the bar.
Monopoly.
And their own policies. They wrote their own procedures. They wrote their own blah, 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 blah. And what's supposed to be a very simple yes or no question, did you do this, this, or this, yes or no, turns into some ridiculously long 500-page, what the hell did I just read document, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. And
get it on the head, Chris.
What they've done specifically to continue to keep these cases going. Why? To perpetuate their income. It's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing to do with your kid. It's got nothing to do with the damn judge, and everything to do with where do they get paid.
Yeah, it's like
that's all.
Right.
Like
so if we actually brought back our form of government, it would eliminate 90% of those jobs.
Right. And our form of government is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic.
Correct. Because we are supposed to be self-governed.
Correct.
That's what we declared our declared acts of tyranny are in the Declaration of Independence. Read those declared acts. There's a list of them. Those are declared acts of a tyrant. Okay? So what we need to understand here is what Chris is talking about, going full circle in history. When reading the Declaration of Independence, and you understand the fundamental principles behind why they were declaring our independence from the King of England, not specifically just the King of England, but tyranny in general.
Hey, we might have a caller from Thailand calling in just a second here.
Well, let me get through this here. So, dang it, I hate that.
What?
That's okay. Let's take our callers. That's what we do this on Wednesday nights for. I want to.
Well, this is explaining Marty's. No, we are not a democratic republic, Marty. We are a constitutional republic. There is no democracy here. The only thing that we do democratically is vote for our public offices. That's it. You can't put our rights to a vote. Votes aren't up for rights. Like I said, our rights are the common law. They're held as our rights. okay, as property. Look up the word property in Black's Law Dictionary. Those
Right.
are guaranteed rights. So creator endowed rights, the fundamental rights, declared in bills of rights, as in plural, more than one, and more specifically, the Bill of Rights as the first 10 articles. They try to say that those are amendments, but actually have a nice fancy little document here that actually is the original Bill of Rights, which had 12, and the first 2 weren't ratified. And the very first part of what it says is there's articles in addition to the Constitution and as an amendment to the Constitution. It didn't actually amend any specific part in the Constitution. It was just an add to. These are articles in addition to. So anyway, all of those are held in our person, property. We own that. So that means nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. Period. There is no power delegated to make statutory law, to create those jurisdictions, because that's what statutory law does. It creates these jurisdictions.
That's what we talked about on
Monday. Marriage contract is a contract. Your driver's license is a contract. All of these things are contracts. And this is why I keep bringing it back around for full circle back to admiralty jurisdiction, which was extended back onto the land by Congressional Act in 1845, which is an act of treason. Okay? There is no legislative authority to extend admiralty jurisdiction onto the land. And if you think so, show me the law that says so, because Article 3 limits the jurisdictions and where and who is allowed to exercise the powers of that jurisdiction.
Right.
Okay?
See, it's hard to understand Marty's personality through text. If he was talking with you, his inflection would say everything. Marty, you should literally just call in instead of messaging. It would make a lot more sense. It really would.
He's right. Which is why, and I know he's read my report, I put the Declaration of Independence in the table of authorities of my report for a very good reason, because those are acts of tyranny, and because of those acts of tyranny, we are under a condition of absolute despotism. So the answer to his question is yes, we do. So come on.
Yes, we are most absolutely under absolute despotism.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so what power is in there in that Declaration of Independence is to all political powers inherent to people. We have the right to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time. We have the duty to throw off such government.
Right.
I know about that, Marty. Okay.
Parents have so many people.
Years, so, yes.
So many people, including your nephew, Kirk, who said, "Oh, well, the Bill of Rights is just this old document. It doesn't fucking mean doesn't mean anything." So many people have that mentality that, the government should control our lives. That's what people think these days. It's complete insanity.
They've been indoctrinated, right?
Okay.
They have been
Marty,
successful.
what's your last four? Because we have...
It would be an Arizona number.
I have no idea what Arizona area code. 856 or 602.
Try 602. I should know. You know what? I could look up his number.
Okay, area code 602.
Oh, I'm on. I'm on.
Okay.
Is this Marty?
That's him.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. That's what the lady's voice told me.
Yeah, I run the board over here so that I don't have people trying to talk over the top of us. So you keep saying, let's bring the juries back, but what jury?
Petite.
Grand jury?
A new
No, the answer is whatever jury that we decide is necessary to serve the needs of the people in a court that handles 55,000 cases a year. Because that's what we're dealing with here in Maricopa County. So
right.
The answer is you can't put a jury
back to the church where it belongs. So you won't have those 55,000 divorces a year because you won't be able to get married.
I really don't think
run out there and get married. It's not That is not authorized. It is not delegated to the government. It is held by the people, okay, as a religious right protected by the First Amendment.
That
Second,
may be,
juries are the common law jury.
that may be too extreme, Kirk.
And juries.
Hey, it's me. That may be too extreme for a lot of people to accept, especially up in the East Coast. That the
I didn't write the law.
Well,
okay?
that the
I'm just
churches.
saying what the law said.
No, that
As it
the
is
churches have
Said that.
jurisdiction. You know, that the churches have jurisdiction. I think people is one thing. Churches is something different.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, you know
Marriage has
what? I
nothing
think
to
maybe
do
what
with
Kirk
the
is touching on
establishment
is
or management of government. Plain and simple.
well,
It is a religious act.
maybe what Kirk is touching on is something called no fault divorce. Is that part of the discussion here? Maybe.
No.
We haven't.
No.
Marriage
No
is a religious act. It is a sacred vow between a man and a woman and God.
But
Okay.
the thing is about that is when you have soldiers like yourself going off to war and they die, the husbands don't come back, then the state has to take them into custody, and that is how
No.
parents
Bullshit.
parenti
Show me the law that says the state has to take custody of your child.
or not
There's no
custody.
authority to
The
make that
state
law.
has
I
to
just told you that.
not
Marital
take
rights and
custody,
criminal rights
but
have nothing to do with the
the
establishment
state
or
has to help
national
them.
government. See,
That's
this is the
welfare.
problem. People don't understand how this is supposed to work.
It's welfare.
Your family is supposed to take care
It's
of
welfare.
that, not the state.
It's welfare.
No.
No,
Welfare.
no
Jesus.
welfare. No.
So if
Welfare.
your husband, if you're a girl, right? If I'm a girl,
I mean,
I just
we've
had
been over this one, Ted.
your baby, and you went off and you died. What happens to me? Well, I mean, what happens to me?
Where are his parents and where are your parents?
Maybe they're dead too. What if they're all dead?
The
This
question
is
Polio.
the church.
when you're talking
Polio.
about military
You're supposed
service.
to be a member of the church. You're supposed to be going to church. Your church is your local community is your church. And
Today's-
I'm not talking about the building.
Today's
No.
I understand that, but
The church is the people.
when you say church, people are going to think church. I've never gone to church in my life. I'm not going to accept church as a.
Every time you step outside your door, you're in church.
Right.
Yeah.
So
The
basically,
church is people. And in fact, my first name actually means church. So you're at church right now. You're talking.
All right.
Get technical. But to answer your question, if dad goes off to war and dies at war, the people are supposed to take care of him, not government.
The
None of their
people.
business.
That's why I
And-
think we need to stick with people and not say church. We
one of
really,
the remember
unfortunately,
one of the powers delegated to the government
too many
was the construction of a military force, right? So if the military force deems it necessary to take care of its own, semper fidelis, right? Then the military force, the military itself, should have, right, because it's delegated as a, to protect us from foreign invaders. It should also have the right to take care of its own under principles that it deems that they believe to be consistent with their highest and best traditions.
And that goes
And
to
taking care of their own, meaning wives and children, is consistent with their highest and best traditions. Yes or no?
well the problem that we've seen is so church and state are separated. You've got it's so ridiculous that now we have an illegal family court system. So what Marty's solution is, okay,
court, brother.
people,
It's every single court in
every
the land.
lower court, but every lower court.
All
I
of
say
them.
abolish the damn marriage contract and call it a day.
Well, there is no marriage contract. If we had an actual civil contract, that would fix a lot of the problems. But
No, no, I got
There is a marriage contract. That's statutes, statutory
license.
law.
it's a
Right.
license.
Statute creates the jurisdiction based off the contract.
There is no contract. It's
in
just a
trouble.
license.
I actually got in trouble for this.
Yes, there is a contract. The contract is the statutes.
No, you get a certificate of marriage when you go down and apply for your.
Yeah.
But that's a license, not a contract. You're not signing a contract,
Yeah, well,
not
yes,
a
it is a
private
contract.
contract.
It is
a contract in writing when you both sign it. And there's a witness.
It's just a marriage license.
Why do you think you're supposed to be married by a clergy member? Because it's a religious act, and the state wants to get in on those fees and
there's your answer.
And subject you to an unlawful jurisdiction.
Well, it's not a civil contract by any
because
by any
it's
stretch.
money. They're practicing marriage,
sacred vow. You can't convert that right into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. That is a marriage license. License is seeking permission from the government to
that's
do
all
a
it
thing
is
that
a
otherwise
license.
would be illegal.
That's all it is a license.
Right.
It's not a contract by
So
any
license
stretch.
is a contract. You're seeking permission under these terms and conditions. And
We're
you sign
too many
contract.
talking. So let's stop talking about whether it's a. We can talk about that privately. Let's go on to what we're talking about.
Because this is what we need to fix here, and this is the rule of law. This is what it says. This isn't something I'm just making up out of the blue here.
Well, it's not a marriage contract right now. It's not a civil contract. It's not upheld in civil court. Therefore, it's not a contract.
Well, I mean, that's right. Where does the right come from? Where does marital rights come from? In law.
They're not in law. It's God's law. It's common law.
It's a common.
But that's in law.
Yeah.
God's law. Okay.
You don't have to, all you have to do is claim it. It's your right to claim
the
it.
state have anything to do with that right?
That's my point. Do away with the
question I'm
contract.
asking Ted.
Certificate.
There is no contract, though. It's just a license. We need a contract.
The license. Right. Yeah. Whatever the hell it is. Do away with it.
The contract, and it binds you to the jurisdiction that you got the license from. That's what the agency is.
And as far as I'm concerned, they can even keep the damn money if it'll knock off the argument. I could care less about a $20 bill or $22 that I paid for that damn thing. Even though I jokingly asked if, because I have my receipt, can I get my money back?
That's interesting.
Apparently, that's not the right question to ask in family court, but it sure made for interesting.
Exactly, Laura. Separation of state and God, separation of church and God. Period.
So, what Marty
where the right comes from in law dictates the proper jurisdiction, and in this case, marriage comes from the Bible as a religious act protected by the First Amendment, which means it's a fundamental right. It's a creator-endowed right. That's the law.
It's wishy-washy now because
that's not wishy-washy. That's the law.
If we go too far back, then it gets wishy-washy. Where we need to go to is to no-fault divorce and take a pause there. Because if we tell everybody, look, you all have to go to church and blah, 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 blah.
No, I didn't say you had to go to church.
Well, the thing is we're going to have welfare. In a civilized society, we're going to have welfare. The state is going to provide welfare. Period.
No.
We're not going to get away from that.
There's no authority to do that.
We're never going to get away from that. We never will. We're not.
What did they ever do back in the day without the government's help?
Well, they
took care of their own, and you know what? We were so much better off back then when we didn't have government in our lives the way we do today.
We hardly have a society compared to that. We have no sense of community anymore because of technology. We can't just tell people to go back there.
You would be surprised what people are capable of when push comes to shove.
It's true. You know, if
look at it this way. Let's break this down simplistically. How many false allegations of abuse would there be if there was no benefit to the attorneys who benefit from those allegations, right? Let's start with a simple question, right? How many of those false allegations would there be out there? Probably not a whole bunch of them.
There'd be almost zero. That's the
whole
thing about having a personal contract. Just like a personal civil contract. There's no benefit.
Again, the contract is between the man and the woman and God.
Right.
Not between man and woman and government.
A personal contract would just be like if I was going to build you a house It's not between me, you, and God. It's between me and you, and that's where the marriage contract, civil contract should be. Shouldn't be just a license to go to Reno and get married like that. It should be a contract that says this is how we settle if the contract is dead.
What do you think the statutory law is for? When the state agency issues the contract, the marriage license, you're bound by the jurisdiction that the license is created under.
I'm saying, like, if you're going to have a real contract, it's going to say when this contract ends, this is how everything is split, including
you got to be careful about the till death do us part vow then.
Oh, yeah. Well, with no fault divorce.
Separation of church and state. There's no authority for the state to be involved in marriage.
No.
It's a religious act.
That's why it's got to be a private contract, a private civil contract, because it doesn't say, let's look at what the law says. Civil,
a religious act through the church.
Civil and criminal, right? Civil law.
So imagine this.
Criminal law.
You actually get married through the church, and in order to get divorced, you have to go see the priest or the pastor of the church that married you. Okay. Now, where's the fundamental gain, profit being made off of getting the divorce? There's no attorneys.
I don't want a priest telling me what to do. I want a
private. But it's a religious act. So you can't have it both ways.
I want it both ways. I want a private civil contract.
Privilege and license and attach a fee to it.
I want a private.
Let's worry about how to unscrew the ones we've got,
right,
and not worry about how to change and, pardon my French, but fuck it up even more before when you create it.
We don't want a third party anywhere. It needs to be a private contract between the two. That's it. Right. No God, no priest, no court, no nobody.
Contract.
No, because that's not where marriage comes from.
Has to be between the two.
Take that right and convert it into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. You don't have that power.
Well, you can contract
even as my neighbor. You don't have that power.
A contract though. If I was to build you a house and the contract fails, I'm not going to fall back on God. I'm going to say something fell apart here. We're going to go to civil court. That's how any contract should be. Shouldn't involve God. It shouldn't involve the state. If you violate the contract, we're going to court.
God, because that's where the right originates in law, the Bible.
But what has happened
from God's law, a religious act, and use it for your own private purposes?
But you
don't have that authority.
But I would rather that's what
perpetuates the immoral society.
I would rather it be
it should be this way. But the law says something different than what you think.
But this is the evolution, Kirk. If the courts didn't do it, the churches would have did it. You know what I mean? It needs to be between two people. A marriage is between two people. A contract is between two people. That's where it should stay. Period. Not the court, not the God.
So that contract should stay between those two people and the Bible. God, where it comes from.
Whatever the law is, yes, that's fine. But the contract is between two people, period.
But you're not understanding how marriage actually is in accordance with God's
let's not muddy it up. Just a contract, period.
Those of us who have actually been married know what this means. So I can tell you, I did it, was dumb enough to do it twice. I won't do it again. Lesson learned.
I almost did it twice.
Anyway, hang on.
Never been married. Probably won't ever do it. I definitely won't go get the marriage license contract from the state. Won't ever happen.
Don't do it.
Anyway, we digress. Getting back to the original question, the original question being, why multiple jurisdictions? Okay, well, that's because the attorneys, right? They literally wrote these fictitious documents that can't exist in law. That we can agree on. We have agreed on it, and we preach it every week. So the thing to do is undo the thing that they wrote, right? And eliminate the argument altogether. As far as what happens with the children, guess what? Kids are kids. One week it's going to be, I'm going to be with mom all week because of dad's work schedule. The next week it might be completely opposite. You don't need to, you know,
Neely gets it. Neely gets it.
You know, you need to be here on this day, this time.
Hold on. Two people in God, Chris. Two people in God. It might as well be two people in the judge. It's got to be two people and two people, period. Two people in nothing.
So who's higher, God or the judge?
It
Tell
doesn't
that
matter.
to the kid when
They'll
he wakes
both
up.
take advantage of you if you put them in power. Look at Christianity.
Okay, this is all well and good. You can try to make these lovely plans, but when the kid wakes up in the morning, Mommy or Daddy, I don't feel good. I'm sick.
Only two people. Two people and nobody.
Judge's program. Out the window that went.
Well,
Why?
I'm sorry, Ted, but that's not what the law says.
It has to be that way. It's the only way contracts work. If you put in a third party, then you get the judiciary we have today. If you put in the church,
in order for a contract to be valid, you have to
get
have
the
a third party
Crusades.
as a witness.
If you put in the church, you get the Crusades. If you put in the judiciary, you get
bullshit.
what we have today. It's not bullshit, bro. It's not.
You're going to have to go do a research on what the Crusades was actually about.
If you put too much power in a third party, the third party will profit off you every time. Doesn't matter if it's the church
party in a
or the
marriage
courts.
is God. It's just a witness, and it's actually a sacred vow. Look up that word.
If you put too much power in a third party, they will profit off of it. And that is exactly what we're seeing now.
How do you figure? How do you figure God's going to profit off of that?
The church will profit off of it.
Not church. God.
If you're saying that...
I'm not talking about the 501c3 church. I'm talking about God from the Holy Bible, where marriage actually comes from.
If you're going to put a power into the church, it's going to have the same effect as the courts.
No, most certainly will not.
No, you're talking about the Cardinals rule.
Look at the Crusades. Look at British history.
Oh God!
Look at Christianity.
Yeah, we're back there. We got.
Exactly, we're back there.
Yeah, so we need to get back to the fundamental principles of law, and that is God's law is first, and our rights, creator endowed rights.
But it already happened. That's why we left England.
No, that is not why we left England.
We need a contract between two people, not three people. Two people.
It was religious separation.
I'm going to take a break. Two people, not three people. That's got to be the bottom line.
God is not a people.
Yeah, I need to wet my whistle, among other things. But
I didn't write the Bible, and I didn't write the law. I'm just here to speak the law, and this is what the law says. Marital rights and parental rights come from the law of nature, protected by the Ninth Amendment, declared in the Declaration of Independence, which has nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. In fact, I just posted that stuff from American Jurisprudence last night, 1 o'clock my time. Go read it on Kirk's Law Corner page. It's right there. Natural rights, civil rights, and political rights. Natural rights, fundamental rights, and civil rights have nothing to do with the establishment or support or establishment or management of government. Bouvier's Law Dictionary specifically says that marital rights and parental rights have nothing to do, they're a natural right, have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of government. That's because those are held in property at the common law.
Okay.
So we got.
I'm with Laura. I think I'm going to stick with what Laura said. Common law is God's law.
Yes. and it's bills of rights. I put that out as American jurisprudence. Volume 16, section 100. Bills, as in plural, bills of rights and declarations are the common law. That's what we all have in common. Why do you think Article 4, Section 1 reads the way it does? Equal protection of the common law. The law is what it says, but when anytime it talks about the law, it's the common law.
You realize all the attorneys are sitting there laughing at us, debating over shit that already that can't change. We're debating over the hidden.
Marty, the common law is not case law. That's stare decisis.
I'm not saying that it is.
No, Marty is. He's like, actually, common law is case law. Sorry, wrong.
Laughing it up.
Stare decisis. That's not common law.
Their process creates this problem, right? It's their process that creates this problem. Yes, it is. I've been doing this for a long damn time, and ain't nobody going to tell me that it's not the practice of law that has created this monstrosity. It's got nothing to do with what the law.
Well, they're not even practicing the laws.
Law said.
So what law are they practicing?
There's your answer. They're making this shit up as they go. Why? Right. Because it's their practice, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So what do we do with that? We abolish their practice. Damn, that was easy.
Allie Roberts, how do you guys know all this? Because for me, I've been at it since 1995, and I have a very high comprehension level. I have a superior intelligence level, 137, 98 percentile. Okay, that's the reason why I can memorize this stuff. My area of intelligence is actually in problem solving, a very extremely high mechanical aptitude. So I understand how things are supposed to work, how they're supposed to function, and when it breaks, I know how to take it apart and put it back together fixed. That's one reason why I'm a mechanic. I remodel houses. I've learned just about every trade in the construction trade, besides concrete and HVAC, including electrical and plumbing. Third-year apprentice electrician, top of my class, first and second year. So that's how I know, and that's because that's how my brain works. I kind of have like a visual memory that when I read it, I see it, it goes in here. So
yeah, I tell you, in the real world, that's exactly it. I didn't get Dane Bramage until I started screwing around with attorneys.
Yeah, attorneys. The root word of attorney is to take your shit and give it to somebody else. Don't hire an attorney. You know, this is the problem. This is what Chris is going after, is the fact that it's a monopoly. Then, not only that, they're officers of the court. And their first line of allegiance is to the court and then to the public, never to you. And this is why they get away with not defending your rights.
That's inaccurate.
Well, I got really good attorney. Really? Sorry. No, you don't.
Their first allegiance is to the bar, not the court. Okay? The court is the court. The court is a separate entity. The judges are a separate branch. Here's where we run into this problem. And I've said this before, and I'm going to keep repeating it. The judges are an individual branch, right? Separation of powers, right? Okay. We have these attorneys, this practice that's undefined, right? It just kind of goes off and does whatever the hell it wants to do. These attorneys have infiltrated every branch of government, which encroaches on the separation of powers, right? Yes? Okay. So now we have these attorneys that have learned this process in their elite, whatever the hell you want to call it, their little law school club, right? This George Carlin said it best. It's their club and you ain't in it. So that's where that comes from. And of course, they're the ones sitting in every branch of government. So that's how we evolved into, or devolved into, yes, it's legal. And if you don't believe me, ask me. That's not what separation of powers is about. Separation of powers is that legal? I don't know. We have to go over and ask this other branch, right? Because everybody became so dependent on government and, forgot how to do shit for themselves.
Yeah, maybe it shouldn't be a marriage anymore. Maybe it should be a legal partnership.
Separation of powers.
A legal
Jesus,
partnership.
I swear to God, there was a voice that sounded a lot like mine that said, do away with the contract. Right? Bye.
Yeah. Yes, goodbye. It's hereby abolished. There's no authority for you to convert that right, which is held as a religious act, to convert that right into a privilege, license it, and attach a fee to it. I believe that's Murdoch versus Pennsylvania.
Ish.
Yep, Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. Okay, so let me read this American jurisprudence again to you, Marty, here, so we can clarify the common law. Section 100. A constitution is usually a declaration of principles of the fundamental law, many of its provisions being only commands to the legislature to enact laws to carry out the purposes of the framers of the Constitution, or mere restrictions upon the power of the legislature to pass laws. So there's the restriction. Where marriage comes from is from the Holy Bible. Okay, that's where it's established in law, God's law. So that is a restriction on the legislature. But, however, it is entirely within the power of those who establish and adopt the Constitution to make any of its provisions self-executing, that is, operative without any necessity for further legislation, such as the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There's a period at the end of that, and the Congress shall have the power to make legislation regarding this amendment. No, it's not there. It doesn't exist.
Nope.
Okay. Criteria which may be relevant in determining whether a constitutional provision is let's go down here. Observation. Even without the benefit of a declaration that they are self-executing, constitutional provision, bills of rights, and those merely declaratory of the common law are usually considered self-executing and are provisions that strictly prohibit particular conduct. Clear distinction exists between the questions of whether a constitutional... okay. But anyway, there's your common law. Right there. Bills of rights and those merely declaratory of the common law.
Right. So going back to what you just said about the Second Amendment, right?
Right.
This is a perfect example of what we're talking about, the encroachments of the separation of powers. These attorneys that are members of this bar, this deep state, that's where the deep state is. I mean, let's just say it because everybody knows it. Hi, we see you over there, deep state. You're not hiding. So right. They believe that because they're elected, right, they can go into Congress and create these acts that regulate guns, right? No, that is an act of tyranny declared in the Declaration of Independence, correct? That is an encroachment that shall not be infringed, right? Second Amendment, it is what it is. We not only have the right to keep and bear arms, but sufficient ammunition, because it does make mention of ammunition as well as the arms. They were smart enough to realize, hey, if we say arms but don't say ammunition, some smart-ass lawyer is going to come along and say, but you didn't say nothing about the ammunition. So
yeah, actually they did. It's in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, where we gave the federal government the authority to seek permission from the legislature of the states to create, to purchase land for military purposes for forts, arsenals, and magazines. Okay, the government is supposed to provide sufficient arms, and I'll even take it to the Articles of Confederation. They're supposed to make sure that there's sufficient arms and camping equipment. Okay,
well, remember,
in case of invasion, foreign invasion.
Some of these grants we'll never get away from. We're never going to get away from Planned Parenthood. We're never going to get away from welfare. I mean, some common sense we have to put into this. And
yes, the common sense is the government doesn't have anything to do with this. And so let's return back to the common law, which is we take care of ourselves. We have the right to defend our life, our liberty, our property, how we see fit.
I agree with that, but still, we're a civilized society. We're not going to let people die on the street. We're going to give them welfare.
Well, of course. So when you walk out of your house and you see the homeless guy there, you go, hey, would you like some food?
Yeah, that's all fine and good,
you
but
take care of your people in your neighborhood.
Well,
you take care of the people in your
Have you been
city,
to New York City?
That's the way it's supposed to be. Instead of forcing me to pay taxes and then have the government say,
And that's
a pipe dream, bro. That's a pipe dream. That's a pipe
because
dream.
now the standard is good fences make good neighbors, which sucks, but
exactly
that's pretty much is what it is. Right. And you know, so going back to what Ted's saying, if I understand this right, the welfare system to provide for people, like for example, with a birth defect or with a some ailment of some sort now, that they can't provide for themselves.
You got to keep in mind where I'm coming from. All right, I've been very independently minded, growing up in a very liberal area. I know what is going to pass and what is going to not pass. If you try and take something from these people, we're all going to get shot down. If you try and shove Jesus or church or anything in there, and I'm religious. I consider myself religious. If I try to shove that in their face, I will get shot down instantly. These are the things where we have to be very plain.
What authority do you have to violate my law?
Very clear.
My property.
It's not your law or your property because it's not my fucking. It's not my God. It's not my God, Kirk. It's not their God. It's freedom of religion.
If it's not their God, then they can't get married, can they?
They certainly can.
You see the problem there?
They certainly can, though. Because
it's a religious text declared in the Bible.
Look,
that's where it comes from.
This is where you have to separate.
My neighbors to get together and put it to a vote.
This is where you have to separate. This is where you
being established as the law.
This is where you have to separate the old school from the current philosophy, the current liberal philosophy, the current conservative philosophy. Separation of church and state.
Yep, separation.
Marriage is no longer. Marriage is no longer. Marriage is no longer part of the church. It never will be again.
You can't take from the church.
It's already been taken. I'm not taking shit.
No,
I agree.
The Bible doesn't exist.
It needs to be a private contract to protect us from the state.
Does 2 + 2 = 4?
It certainly does.
All right.
2 + 2 doesn't equal 3 either. A contract between one person and one person equals 2, not 3 people, not God, not the court, not anybody. Remember that.
Here's the law. Here's the law. Okay, 2 + 2 = 4. You can't deviate.
All right, let's talk about this personally.
Yeah, how the hell did we digress into this conversation?
It's Marty's fault.
Let's take a call. Who is 5112? 512. Welcome to Kirk, Chris, and Ted's Crazy Adventure Argument Show.
Tonight it's enter at your own risk. Oh, God.
Hey, guys. I love all y'all, and I like that churches became somebody now. Yeah. Kirk, we looked your name up. You are church now. You're no longer Kirk. Back on the reality, guys. Back on the reality.
You know what the definition of my name is? Gift from God. I'm a gift from God.
There you go.
Oh, no.
Hey, Chris, this is Ed. I just got really one question to ask you.
Shoot.
Chris?
Yeah, go ahead. Shoot, buddy.
Hey, talking about these crossing states, I'm a grandfather, and if you look me up, you'll find out that I belong grandparents' rights. The situation that I'm dealing with is I lost a granddaughter to come out of Alabama to the system, and I don't approve of it.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina illegally stole her because I wasn't even in that state for the statute of even becoming resident there. And they picked this child up.
Somebody in Houston.
My daughter has brain trauma, and they also did her dirty a year and a half after they had taken my granddaughter. They had took her across state lines, being an ill or a disabled person, and abandoned her at an airport. And that's two state lines that they interceded into. And I heard you the other night saying something about a document that is in there for grandparents to stand on. And starting the first of the year, I'm going to really run all over South Carolina. So my statute is to be able to figure out the paperwork that I'm exactly needing to be able to go to Alabama, get the birth certificate to start it, because that's where she was born at, come into South Carolina and go to the federal law system. And I have the documents to stand on everything I've dealt with over the past 21 years with my daughter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, first of all,
Custodian Act.
yeah, there's there's really no set form, okay, because every case is different. The forms that we talk about are the basic 1983 civil complaint form in the federal court, for example. Another example is we just posted it here. Was it Monday night? The 8-page complaint form, discrimination complaint form. Just cross out discrimination, write fraud, right?
Yeah. Right.
If I were you, I would do that first. Print that. What was it? 6 or 8 pages? I think it's 8 pages. The address is even on the bottom of the last page where you send it to. And where it says discrimination, just wipe that out and write fraud there, right? Because that's in essence what they did, is they committed fraud, right?
Right. That's right. Sat
So,
me in the back room, told me nothing. You know, took my handicapped daughter into the courtroom and walked all over and gave me no satisfaction and nothing. And I put one of them so-called attorneys involved, you know. When she was in North Carolina, I went up against the biggest attorney she could go up against, which was the assistant attorney general for the hospital in North Carolina, and walked right through it with my own paperwork, my own documentation, and walked out of there with my daughter.
right. Question: would your daughter give you a power of attorney?
I have it.
Oh, you have it. Oh,
I did that court ordered.
dude,
I took it from North Carolina and put it in my hands, and South Carolina ain't acknowledging it. And I come to find out that guardianship on body, they don't acknowledge it unless you go back into the court system. So right now I'm up in Pennsylvania because I live down not far from where you're at, Chris. I lived in Cocoa,
okay.
Florida, and he was in the hospital down there, and they acknowledged it. I didn't have no problems in Florida with it.
Right.
When I came up to Pennsylvania to bury my brother about 6 months ago, Pennsylvania told me, oh, well, that doesn't stand here. Well, being here now, because I bought a property here, they are looking at me differently because their attorney already told them, you play with this man's going to own your hospital. I'm working that situation out.
Right. I hear you.
With the system. I mean, I'm not going in there and signing any contracts to them. I'm going in there and telling them, hey, here's a legal document from another state. All I want you to do is stamp it. And any state that I go into, that's what I'm going to do. Go to every courtroom or every district justice in that area that deals in the guardianships and say, here's your documents. It's already been proven. The court system in North Carolina will give you these documents. All you have to do is request them, and they will send them to you. And that gives me a stamp on that letter.
Right.
Once that stamp's on there, I can walk all over them. I have it already in North Carolina. South Carolina is the adjacent state, and I do have one of the top lawyers. Then again, the assistant attorney general that works for the hospital that will stand behind me, and I also have a judge. So not every judge out here is bad.
Correct.
You know, not every lawyer is bad, because for the first 28 years of my daughter's life, I had an attorney. I didn't pay that man. And I hate calling him an attorney. I call him my father or my best friend, you know, because he knew the law and he stood behind me and everything with my daughter from the age of 13 when she got hit by a car and became amnesia and went through the status of being brain trauma. And I could not afford the medical, so they shove her through the mental health system. which is another crooked system.
There's your answer right there. All right. So
Yep.
to kind of help you kind of button this up, because every one of these situations, remember, they create these soapboxes for a very good reason, right? They want you to sound like you're a raving lunatic. So know that,
Right.
accept it, and be ready to deal with it. The way to combat that is what you're talking about across the state lines, where one state honors it and the other state doesn't, and blah, blah, blah. That's called reciprocity. That's the name of that, right? And you basically, when you're stating that you've got an order from a judge, reciprocity under the law is implied, right? So for them to say we don't honor that, okay, that's actually not true. That's a falsehood, right?
Mm-hmm. It's where you spend more money.
Challenge that. You can file the reciprocity through judicial notice, which I always tell everybody to do, because judicial notice is this is not me asking you to take an action. This is me telling you what it is, right? That's kind of the difference between filing a motion and filing a notice. So a motion is you want them to do something. A notice is this is me telling you what it is, right? So knowing and understanding those couple minute differences will help you communicate through the court. And the thing that you can do is, I'm sure you've got the paper trail, which is great.
Oh yeah.
And the thing, like, again, you're going to preach this. Keep your originals. Nobody but you gets originals. They can have a copy.
Oh, I know that.
Right? They can have a copy.
I know that, and I triplicate everything.
Right. The originals are for you, for your records, and if the judge wants to see them, he or she can ask for them. And you make it very clear, I will provide copies of the documents. Originals are available upon request for review in open court. That means they can review them and hand them back to you, right? That's what that means. Yep. So, like I said, these are just some basics, rules of practice that we just know and we use every day. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this show, was because to help you guys know and understand what this stuff is and how it works. So,
hey, Chris.
That's right. And I've been listening to you, and I passed my number off to you through an IM, and I passed it to Ted because I wanted to get a hold of one of you to see whether you could assist me in just giving me the wording, because the exact warnings I wasn't sure, and I do listen to you all the time religiously.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to Church's house because he seems like he's mean all the time.
Hey, the preamble to the state of Idaho's Constitution says, "We, the people of the state of Idaho, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom to secure its blessings and promote our common welfare, do establish this Constitution." So, what God are we talking about? We're talking about God of the Holy Bible.
I agree with you. When it comes
to take the time to read our historical documents, they all say "in the year of our Lord."
Right.
I agree with you 100% with all of that.
And then the preamble to the Constitution for the United States of America says what? Blessings.
all I want to see
you got
is
going.
The United States, in order to a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity.
Yep.
How do you secure blessings of liberty when there is no God? This is the problem we have.
There is a God.
This is the reason why the English...
We just don't go to a building for church.
Right.
Oh, you're coming to me for church. My name's Kirk, and it's church. So welcome to church, folks.
A lot of people want
no, money is not the root of all evil. It's the love of money, which is called greed.
The love of money. There you go.
That's well said, Kirk. That's one of the best things you've said all night. I love it.
What's that?
The love of money, not the money itself.
Yes, it's not the money itself. I mean, dude, if I was a multi-million billionaire, do you know how many homeless people?
You answered my questions, Chris, and I'm going to let him go at it and get somebody else on there.
Oh, thanks, man. I love you, Ed.
Let him run his church.
What? Who else do we
Chris,
have?
if I can interject for a second.
Foundational principles of law. what it is.
We have a few people on the horn here. There is 5112. Maybe that's Darren.
That's me.
6304.
That's it.
2072.
2072 is Neely.
Okay. 5112.
Okay, you can get me off. I'm 5112.
Yep,
Okay.
5112 is Ed.
6304.
And
You wonder how I know stuff.
Is Marty Lynch still on? Is Marty Lynch still on?
I think we lost him.
Yeah, I
huh?
am.
Oh, really?
No, I'm here.
Oh, awesome.
Well, Marty,
Marty.
Haley's question. She was trying to ask you something in the comments. Go ahead, darling. Ask him.
Hey, listen, are you the Marty Lynch that my father, Mike Blanchard, used to work for?
no.
No, the Lynches? Okay. I was like, oh my gosh. So my dad worked for Fairway Toyota. He was in the time that he won the presidential award for Toyota back in 2006. So that's not you, right? The Lynch?
No, I'm just a regular guy.
Okay. All right.
Sorry.
I was like, oh my gosh, because I invited Chris Hafer. He's the owner of Savannah Toyota in Savannah, Georgia. I invited him on, and he got on. And I asked Chris, I was like, is this the Marty Lynch that was my dad's boss? But, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well, that's twice my phone's died.
that's a bummer.
Okay.
Well,
That was all.
Marty, since
Okay.
you're
This is
you're
Darren.
on,
If I could interject for a second.
it's all
Darren.
yours,
You
Darren.
were talking about not giving up the originals to the courts, and maybe you should explain why you should not give up the originals. Basically, when you give the originals up, you're actually giving up all the rights to the document.
Exactly.
The holder
People
of
might
the
not
document.
understand that.
Very good point, Darren. Very good point. You holding on to your originals means you are retaining your property as your property, right? Which goes back to what we talk about on Monday nights. Because those are your property, you are willing to provide a copy to the other side for their purposes and their records or whatever. But as far as the originals, absolutely not, because that's basically the same thing as you granting consent for them to destroy that document, which is exactly the way they interpret it.
Not only that, there's another part to that. Is in law, in the common law, when you go to court, you have the right to demand the contract in writing with your wedding signature on it. Okay? So that you may scrutinize it in its entirety to make sure that it is a lawful contract and that there isn't any pieces and parts of that contract that's been altered or by fraud. So, you're actually supposed to sign your signatures in blue ink, not black.
Correct.
That way you could tell the difference between the black writing of the document and signature. Signature is supposed to be done with a blue pen.
Yeah, so you know the difference between an original and a copy. So,
yes.
Matter of fact, what I do, I'm actually a notary as well. So,
Me
when
too.
I take an original document and make copies for people, I actually do stamp them copy. I have an embosser that embosses the original as well as my stamper, and I use the embosser in certain documents. You don't need it for everyone, but certain documents you should. These are just basic things of practice that I just do just because I know better. And again, stuff that is just gone by the wayside, I just sit there and scratch my head going, where did you get your certification? Out of a box of Cracker Jacks or what? I mean, I can't even wrap my head around half of this crap.
Yeah, it has happened to me where they've taken over my documents.
Yeah, it's happened to me.
And I didn't know better, so I wanted it to be clear that everybody should know.
Right. And I don't even
give the original, you're screwed.
Yeah, that actually happened to me. One of the attorneys, I made the mistake of taking a document out of my pocket and setting it on the damn table. Son of a bitch reached over and picked it up.
What the hell?
Yeah, just saying. So, you know,
I would have smacked his hand.
every one of them. Don't they? Oh, we're honest and we're ethical. Oh, bullshit. I'm sorry. I have yet to meet one that wouldn't take your document. You know, that's their leverage, man. That's their payday. When they got your document, they got you. So they get copies only. No, nothing else. Copies. That's it. And
one of the things you don't understand, if your post-decree documents are not signed and dated, it is not a contract. Absolutely correct. And so, like I keep saying, anytime you go to court, somebody's, you know, let's say you're the defendant or you're the respondent, I demand to see the contract with my wet ink signature on it. Wet ink signature means blue. So we can tell that it's distinctly blue and not black. So it's not a copy. I need to see the original. And the holder of the contract is supposed to hold the original. And so when you go to court, you're supposed to photocopy. Actually, what you're actually supposed to do is bring the original contract to court in the common law court. And the jury is supposed to see the contract. The jury is supposed to read the contract.
What contract?
I like the little feather pen.
In order to go to court, you have to have a contract.
You're going to sign it with a feather, Neely?
Yeah, with the actual feather, a Boston feather. I got it to Boston. Yep, the Tea Party.
with the white wig on with the curls in it, you know.
I got the actual
contract.
They were really expensive. They were like $80 at the Boston Tea Party. But I was like, please, they can't have one. I want one so bad. And I got one.
That's awesome. There was once upon a time they used to teach calligraphy, right? Which is
I know. Yes. I know how to write it. I know. My grandma taught me.
Yeah. It's too bad my penmanship is horrible. I've always wanted to learn how to do it, and
it's beautiful.
It is. It is. It is literally artwork. But
they used to teach cursive in school too.
Yeah.
Well, that's why words were so important to them. People don't understand it, and that's why words meant so much to them. They put so much time in a word. Like, I mean, words, everything is just so set up, and that's the problem.
It's based on your honor, right? You gave on your honor. So when they come in with these false allegations, right? They're impugning the integrity of your honor. That's the reason they do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That branding. Remember, we talked about branding, the right hand thing, and because that impugns your integrity, your honor. So by them just throwing these allegations out there, and oh my God, that is so politically incorrect. Oh, baby, somebody said it. He must have done it. You know, wait, what? Where's your proof?
Hey, maybe I should write maybe I should write everything up that you typed in calligraphy.
You know what's funny here is, Marty, he just said, I've had 2 orders declared void in the Court of Appeals because they were not signed by the trial court judge. I'm just curious, who do you think is supposed to make the determinations in the order? Anybody answer that?
Ask again, sorry. I'm trying to get this guy from Thailand to connect.
Who do you think is supposed to determine what goes in the order?
The clerk of court.
What order?
The clerk. The clerk is supposed to actually make sure it's filed and signed into your file.
Wrong. Next.
What?
No. He's talking about the procedure of filing it.
No.
That's not what you were asking?
No, the question is who determines what goes in the order?
In what
the judge.
Order? Wrong.
In what order?
What interpretation is the judge? The real answer.
Next.
The jury.
The jury. Thank you. Because the jury is the only one that can consent to finding you guilty or finding facts of law.
Correct.
And finding guilt is the responsibility of the jury, and they must consent because we're not a democracy.
Unanimously consent.
And it must be unanimous consent to find somebody guilty.
And we can't.
I can't wait to bring.
can't
I
have
can't
a,
wait to bring
we
these
can't just
things
have
down.
a jury for every little tiny thing, right? I mean, now it says $20. Now it's like $500, almost $600.
Right.
I mean, this is why having private contracts is the best way to go. Because if you already signed a contract with somebody, you can't go into court and say, well, I signed this, but now I don't agree to it because I'm mad.
Right.
You knew this was the right thing to do. That's why you signed it in the first place. The problem
Well, hey,
with...
Pat, I signed a contract with the people that sold
Neely, come on.
So it doesn't matter at this point.
That's the lower courts. That's the problem. It's not a civil contract. Even if you have a prenup, the way that the family courts are set up right now, the lawyers can litigate prenups for years on end. They'll pick it apart. They'll make it last forever. This is the problem. We don't have a contract. We only have a freaking license.
No, the problem is there's been a statutory jurisdiction created by the Bar Association, and you're being subjected to statutory jurisdiction and under administrative process.
Right.
This is not in the common law.
Right.
This is not being heard by the jury of your peers. Our form of government dictates this is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Right.
In accordance with Article 3.
On the same breath, we have to remember that we learn from our mistakes. And in
the thing is you're so brainwashed into thinking that the government is the fix.
No.
Everybody.
Personal contracts, personal responsibility is the fix. Just like you're saying, personal responsibility.
I think I'm going to cry. I'm so excited.
Cry it up, baby.
So let's go with
the removal of government.
You want to get married, you go to the church, you talk to the pastor, you talk to the priest, and you have the priest or the pastor get you married.
Forget about the church, Kirk.
Vow
church.
Between a
Forget about the Kirk.
Again, I swear to God.
you got to get that out of your mindset.
No, you need to put that in your head because
I do. I'm not telling you what I think. I'm telling you what's going to come at you. I'm telling you what's going to happen. You can't bring church back into the law. You can't do it.
You can't take a right secured in the Bible.
It's a fundamental right with or without the church.
You can't take a right that is secured by religion, separation of church and state, and put it
It's not by religion. It's not by religion.
You can't take that. I don't care if it's your religion or not.
It's a human right, not a religious right. It's a human right, bro. Not a religious right.
It is a religious act.
No, dude. Separate the rights from God. Separate the rights, not from God, from religion. Just separate it from religion, please.
Here we go. We're just going to shut this down right now. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands, which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth, the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God. It
doesn't say nature's religion. It says God, not religion.
Yeah, and what's the first sentence?
What are the political bands?
Freedom of religion, which means I don't need a religion.
It's not freedom from religion. It's the right to practice your religion how you see fit.
Freedom from as well.
No, it is not freedom from.
If you're agnostic, it's freedom from as well. Yes.
No, it is not freedom from.
It's freedom of, freedom from, freedom whatever you want to think. If I want to think a fucking tree is my God, I'm agnostic.
Okay, you want freedom from religion? Take all that money and give it to me because it says in God we trust on it.
It doesn't. God is fine. It doesn't say in religion we trust. That's the separation. It doesn't say in religion. It It says in God, not religion.
See, this is the problem with the people here is the fact they don't comprehend and understand how this country was founded.
You have to separate a higher power from religion. Religion and God are two different things. Two different things.
Nature's God, meaning
yes, Kirk, they are.
In the earth. That is nature's God, as declared in the Bible.
God and religion are two very different things. Very
God, how did we get back into a religious discussion?
But if we don't have this solved, I guess it's always going to go back there.
Okay.
You have to separate God and religion.
Rights. That religion, or the duty, okay?
People could look at the state as their religion.
Listen, okay? Listen. This is law. In writing. You can read it. Everybody else can read it. Virginia Declaration of Rights, June 12, 1776.
Don't mix up God and religion.
That religion, or the duty which we owe to our Creator, and the manner of discharging it, can be directed by reason and conviction, not by force or violence. And therefore, all men are equally entitled to the free exercise of religion.
Right.
According to the dictates of conscience.
Exactly what I'm saying.
And that is, shut up.
It has nothing. It doesn't say anything about God. It says about religion, dude.
Shut up, dude. Let me finish what it says.
But religion and God are two different things. That's all I'm saying.
Listen. Okay? According to the dictates of conscience, and that is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, and charity towards each other. Now, I don't know how much clearer that can be.
John says, "Is this the call-in show?" And I said, "My response
says you said the difference." Read it again and listen to yourself talk, because it says there is a difference between religion and God.
It does, huh? Where does it say that?
In no place does religion have any bearing on law. Only God. God is a perception.
Oh, no. Our ideology, which I just read to you, is Christian. Okay?
But still, that is a religion, not God.
I think Tanya nailed it.
On God.
What
Nature's
God?
In the beginning.
All right. How many denominations are there in Christianity?
And what all do they use?
Use what?
The Holy Bible. Thank you very much. That is the ideology of Christianity.
But you're also talking about Catholicism.
Nope.
No. And they all use the same God. Christianity has not only many different types of forget the term, types of religion, but it's Catholicism versus Christianity.
Marty's having too much fun with this conversation.
The thing is it doesn't matter what religion is. It's that we are under a God. When you bring a religion in, that's where the problem is. We can't have.
Why all of our documents are signed in the year of our Lord?
Well, that's what we uphold. But still, there's so many types of Christianity.
Why are they signed in the year of our Lord? Our Lord. Why?
Did y'all come from the South there, Kirk? The Lord?
Lord?
That was a whole different dialect.
that was yeah.
The thing is, if we're going,
why do we have all of our documents signed in the year of our Lord?
If we're going to get anything done in this country, we have to make sure the separation continues. Separation of church and state.
So that means the state can't have anything to do with marital rights and parental rights.
Yeah, the operative word being separation.
You can't provide that marriage contract, that license.
Conversation.
You can't subject the people to that jurisdiction.
Well,
no.
This is the trick, though. So if I'm building you a house and we have a lot of money invested.
No, we just established that, dude. We're not talking about building a house. We're talking about law.
All right, so when
2 plus
you
2
went,
equals 4. This
all right,
is the way it is.
let's say we're two gay guys and we get married, and I build a fucking empire. I build $1 billion. I build thousands of houses. I build this real estate empire like Trump, and you did nothing. If we don't have a contract saying, since you did nothing, you just get half of my shit.
That's what the welfare system says. Don't get me started.
Well, see, this is where you have to understand how marriage works, dude. Read the Bible. It'll tell you how it works.
I don't want to read the Bible.
Well,
I want to read the law.
That is the law on marriage. That's the authority for marriage. That's where marriage
You
comes
just
from.
lost half the country with that.
Not again. Do this
say that.
later. Later.
You can't say that. You can't
2
say
plus
that
2
anymore.
equals 4. That's just a fact of law, dude. That's just where it comes from. Sorry. You don't have the authority to take that due to separation of powers, separation of church and state, and convert that into a privilege, license it, and attach fee to it.
Marty says, I promised him. No, you're my first love, Marty. Don't worry. You're my first gay love. Well, you crazy
You guys are evil.
Dude, this is the thing. God, upholding God in our law and our society, I'm for 100%. Upholding any specific religion, and you're going to get fucking trampled on. Nobody.
Well, anyway,
we have to find this balance in today's society. In God we trust, yes.
We need to bring back the rule of law as it is written.
That doesn't necessarily mean the Crusades. Doesn't necessarily mean.
I didn't think about the Crusades. You
doesn't
did.
necessarily mean Christianity. It just means
Yes, it most certainly
in
does
God.
mean Christianity, and I just read it to you. That religion or the duty which we owe to our Creator, and the manner of discharging it can be directed by reason and conviction, not by force and violence. Are you trying to force
freedom of religion,
religious act, and give it to everybody else?
So where does
No,
freedom?
you can't do that.
Where does
and you can't use violence against
So where
them.
does freedom of religion?
All men are equally entitled
So
to be free
hold on, stop
exercise.
reading for a second. So where does freedom of religion come into that?
I'm just trying to read that to you. Shut your mouth and listen. All men are equally entitled to the free exercise of religion.
Under
it doesn't
what?
say freedom from religion.
But if you're saying that we all have to, it cites Christianity as a footnote. That's it.
No, that's not a footnote. That's in the Virginia Declaration of Rights. That's not
Christian forbearance is a footnote. It's saying with Christian love. Yes,
it's
not
mutual duty of all to practice. To free exercise of religion, to practice Christian forbearance.
What
love,
we
and
need to
charity toward
focus
each
on,
other.
Kirk,
What
is
that don't you understand?
under God, not Christianity, not Judaism, not Muslimism or whatever the fuck, not Japaneseism. We
That's
need
why
to
it says
focus
Christian.
on above God. Do away with Christianity, Judaism, all of that. God.
No, get the hell out of my country if you don't want to go by our Christian values.
You go into the fucking Northeast and say that. I dare you. I
Not a
dare
problem.
you. I double dog dare you. Triple dog. Put your tongue on that flagpole. I dare you.
Kirk, I have to
Only if it's
interject
warm
here
outside.
because from a bystander here and haven't had all these religious arguments back and forth. I have to say, you're my friend, you know you are, but I have to say that last statement you made is basically stepping on everybody's right to religious freedom, because you can't say you have to be Christian or get out of my country. That is just not right.
No. I said Christian values and principles.
It's
okay,
a footnote.
now I'll accept.
Only
And what I was
use
gonna-
it as
what I
a
was gonna
footnote.
say, let's take the 10 Commandments, and you tell me that those are bad commandments.
No.
I'll accept that. I'll accept that. Don't do any harm to others.
Yes.
Live as you wish, but don't do
Yeah,
any
don't
harm
bear
to
false
others.
witness. I'm talking about principles. 2 + 2 = 4. Okay?
I know, but
This
that depends
guy
on how you
was
spell
wrong.
two.
Morally,
You
ethically.
might spell
principle.
two in Japanese. You might spell
How do you
two in
spell
Muslim.
two? Is it T-O, T-O-O, or T-W-O? Because you can't
it's like a
put two of
curly
those
Q
words
with a
together
line.
and make 4.
It's like a curly Q with a line.
That's why.
Okay, that's a number, right? I'm just saying. Okay, it's all about the wordplay, guys. It is.
Well, yeah,
It really is.
you're trying, brother. You know that.
This is a philosophical / nightmare of sociology conversation. This is like giving me flashbacks of a really bad college class I used to hate called sociology.
All right.
Because it would, every damn time we would meet, it would turn into something like this.
This is the shit that I've dealt with my whole life, where fucking people, liberals, leftists,
moving on.
When you say something, they're like, well, you can't do it because we're not all fucking Christian. We're not all this. We're not all that. We're all different. And so that's what, in different cultures, different pockets, we have to make sure we separate Christianity from our higher power. If you say Christianity, if you say the church, you're going to alienate more than half the country at this point.
Again, you have to understand what we're talking about. We're talking about the fundamental principles. Thou shalt not kill.
And I get that. And at the time,
to go to church, and I've been over this before.
At the time, everybody here was Christians. I came over on the freaking Mayflower, or my forefathers did. We were all Christians. We were trying to get away from not just
despotism.
Right, but remember that a lot of them were getting away from the same religious despotism. You know, a lot of the Scots that came over here weren't Catholics. They weren't Protestants.
Right. So in the Magna Carta in 1215, it specifically says it's for religious separation from the Roman Catholic Church, which in England is the Pope, which is that's who runs the show over there. Okay.
But it's also Christian.
Right. It is Christian.
It's also Christian. And so there's two separate. Yes, it is. They believe in Christ.
Right.
Okay, but the Pope
Catholic.
rules that religion.
That's Catholic.
Catholic and Protestant
it's Christian.
is pretty
It's
much
still a Christian.
No. Two different, like we were talking before. There's
Protestant
different types of it.
Protestant is Christian. Catholic is Christian.
Right.
No, Catholic is Catholic. Period.
Catholic is Christian.
It's
Catholic.
Protestant.
I'm sorry, I
is
disagree.
Christian.
Catholic also believe in Christ.
Yes, I do. I agree with that.
Okay, so you can't specifically say Christians because that includes the Catholics. They came over here to get away from the Catholics.
Well, they came to get away from the tyranny.
Remember in high school, Kirk?
Catholics.
Remember Ireland in high school? Remember the Protestants versus the Catholics? They're both fucking Christians, and they're killing each other in Ireland. Remember that shit? Remember all the movies? That was one of Brad Pitt's first movies. It was a good fucking movie. Movie. There's another good dialect for everybody. But here's the thing. Under God, and as much as we can step away from saying Christianity at this point,
no, I'm not going to allow you to tear my country apart like that. The founding principles of this country.
It's not tearing founding principles apart when you're still talking about a higher power, because a lot of people in this day and age have different higher powers that have nothing to do with Christianity. And I'm Merry Christmas. I will not say Happy Holidays ever. I will always say Merry Christmas. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to get the population on our side, we can't say fuck you Jews, fuck you Muslims.
Buddhists,
it's Christianity
whatever.
or my ass. We have to say it.
This is the thing. You have to understand how they already discussed all this stuff back in the day. Okay, look.
No, they didn't though.
Hold on. I want to make one.
To practice your religion right here. I just read it to you.
Right.
You know, right
your
here.
Your religion could be Christian,
The
Catholic.
Exercise of religion, the free exercise of religion.
Right.
You don't have the right to be free from religion. Okay, you have the right to exercise your religion how you see fit. But
no, I disagree.
No,
Yeah.
that's what it says there.
I disagree. If you have a right to do something, you also have the right not to do something.
Correct.
Right.
That's
Okay.
the case.
What I'm saying is, you can't walk down the street and say you can't have something Christian in your front yard. You can't preach Christianity on the street corner.
Of course you can.
That's what I'm talking about, freedom from religion.
Anybody can practice
Okay,
any
freedom
religion they
from
want.
religion means if you want to tell me I have to be
Principles of
Christian,
law.
then I don't have to agree to that.
Yeah. Here we go again. I do not
Okay,
consent.
so, I mean, I'm just trying to get you clear on how this is coming across. I mean, you have your beliefs. I have my beliefs. Ted has his. Chris has his, and every other caller listening has their own. They may not be the same. They may be similar. They may be completely different. But what you're saying is Christianity. That still includes Baptists and Episcopalian and Catholic and all those other Lutherans. They're all Christians.
The reason why
Now
it
the
was
Catholics,
written.
the Catholics, they believe in Christ, but they can do whatever they want so long as they go in and they go to that little confession booth and say,
Right.
"Please forgive me."
The reason why it was written that way is because it was written by Christians. Christian forbearance means love your brother as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's all it says. It doesn't mean that you have to be Christian. All it's referencing is the fact that the writers were Christian. That is why we don't want to say you have to be Christian or you have to follow Christian law. All it says is that you need that we believe in a higher power. We believe in these principles. That's it. It doesn't mean
and that's what it says here. And that it is the mutual duty of all to practice Christian forbearance, love, charity towards each other.
Right. And Christian forbearance
back in the day,
just
they
means
are
peace.
just shut the oh my god.
Just means peace. Just means brotherly love, neighborly love. It doesn't mean Christianly love.
Look, in history, they already argued this stuff. Okay? Back in the 13 colonies, before we did the Declaration of Independence, before we did the Articles of Confederation, and before we did the Constitution, they already argued this, what we're talking about right now. Okay? So what we need to understand is the principles dictate the law.
Right. And a lot of this stuff comes from
the
Rome.
Holy Bible, dictate how you are to treat one another. Now,
well,
you have the right to go out.
Remember where Latin comes from. Latin doesn't come from Christianity.
You have the right to go out and practice your religion how you see fit. And you cannot stop somebody else from practicing their religion unless, as it says here, not by force and violence. So under the strict scrutiny standard, which is called a governmental compelling interest, every single governmental compelling interest, which means the people of the state or the people as a whole, as interest in law, first, you can't put things to a vote that don't have nothing to do with you. Your rights are your property. I don't consent to putting that to a vote. And you don't have the authority to put that to a vote. Okay? So, under the strict scrutiny test, religion must pass this test, and which is it must not profess the use of force and violence and domestic violence.
But that's all religion.
This is why Islam is not a lawfully protected religion by the First Amendment. Because it does profess the use of force and violence.
Well, remember where the terms of laws come from. They come from Latin. Christianity did not exist in Roman times yet. And that's where a lot of our laws come from before Christianity.
Is that right?
They're already practicing Roman law, which is civil law. And they're also practicing Sharia law. So you have to be careful. They're already doing these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, this is the crazy part right here. Our whole entire world bases our timeline off of Jesus's death.
But our law comes from before Jesus's birth.
BC and AD.
Roman is
world,
BC. Our law is BC. All right, we have a caller.
I'm
4653.
to Jesus Christ as being the timeline for
I need
history.
a cigarette now too. God
I
damn
mean,
it. Let's take this caller. Let's take our.
This is December 20th, 2017 AD.
Right.
Is it not? Okay, thank you.
Oh,
it is.
All right, caller. Welcome to Kirk's, Chris's, Ted's excellent adventure, crazy ass
Argument
college show. Who are we talking to? 6304.
I'd be watching this if I wasn't in it.
I want 6304, but I've been on mute because I didn't want to, overwhelm everybody with my giggling. So, anyway,
that's Marty, right?
Yeah, that's Marty. Yeah, I'm here.
4653 would be the other one.
That's my number. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Who are we talking to?
Keisha Kennedy.
Okay, did you have a question for us tonight?
Well, I just happened to be on the page. I was trying to see what is in Kirk's Law Corner.
You're trying to what?
See, what is the Kirk's Law Corner? How does it help us with what do you do for it to help us with the children that are removed?
Well, I know that this seems to be a common question, and this is what we're doing. We're trying to fix America, the root of the problem. Okay, the root of the problem first of all starts from the War of 1812 with the Bar Association, and they instituted themselves into our government in 1812 with the War of 1812. Why did we have the War of 1812? Because we ratified the original 13th Amendment, which kicked them out of our country. Those who take a title of nobility known as Esquire ceases to be a citizen of the United States. Okay? So they didn't like that. They came in, started a war with us, burned our Capitol buildings, trying to destroy the records. So the White House is actually a stone house, and they painted it white to cover up the charred burn marks on the Capitol. Then in 1845, because they had instituted themselves into government, our representatives and starting to make their statutory law, 1845 by congressional act extended admiralty jurisdiction onto the land. Since 1845, they have slowly been building statutory law after statutory law after statutory law. Okay, things got messed up in around 1861. Most people think that it was about slavery. No, it was about trying to get rid of the bar again, the same absolute despotism. The Confederation, anti-federalism, trying to stop them from taking over our country, which by then it was already too late, but they tried. So I always ask people who actually won that war. And it wasn't us, we, the original founding people and the founding principles of this country. And then you get into the Reconstruction Acts of 1871, which is Civil Wars 1861 through 1865. And then 1871 is where supposedly we declared bankruptcy because we no longer had money and we had money issues, which is a bunch of BS. But anyway, so from there into the 1930s, we're 1910, we're kind of started there. And with the birth certificate, that's a contract. And your social security number, this is all in 1930s. They abolished gold and silver standard. So hopefully that kind of answers your question of the root of the problem is the admiralty jurisdiction that has been extended onto the land. It affects every single court in the land. It's not just family court. It's all three branches of government have been infected.
Okay. I have another question. When I was researching, trying to figure out how to challenge California's dependency claim, they said that there had been a court case, I think in New York,
where a Supreme Court said you couldn't remove, or that it was unlawful to remove a child simply because it may have witnessed the non-offending parent being a victim of domestic violence, which was our case, which was what happened in our case. So I wanted to find out how to explore that further and see were there any. I couldn't find any other examples of it, but that's what I want to try and maybe build and work from that angle, and see if there's been much success with that.
Hey, you know what? Let me throw something out here that people may have heard about, but probably most people haven't. This is Marty in Arizona. Hey, Marty. The DOJ came out with Jeff Sessions here the other day, where he said, "You know what? These judges are going to follow the Constitution or else." Okay, and so then I've heard ancillary comments from people saying, "You know what? There's been a change in the culture within the judiciary, and these judges are not acting the same as they have just like a week ago." And so today I was in court. Today, and the judge has been saying no every month, no every month, no again. Okay, and today he said yes, and just out of the blue. So I'm just throwing that out there, because for everybody who's fighting, whatever battles you're fighting, the environment out there in the legal world, I think, is starting to change. Yes. And people are starting to, and these judges are starting to look at these cases in a little bit different light. Marty? So, what kind of result you got a couple weeks ago may not be what you're going to get today. Marty,
I'm going to ask you a question here. Is this your first time watching our show?
No.
Okay. That what you're talking about, Jeff Sessions actually came out with the prohibition on the use of guidance documents, November 16th, 2017.
Yeah, I saw that.
And actually that's where Jay probably got it from, was from us, because we did a breaking news on that following Tuesday, and we went over that guidance document. And then the most recent document, which I actually have right here in front of me, is the proclamation from President. Basically, both between Jeff Sessions and President Trump. This President Trump's proclamation came out December 6th, reestablishing the rule of law as it is written. It says what it says as it is written. And this also ties into what Chris Hallett's work has done, is that, the return to parliamentary practices. And to answer the lady's part of your question there is, read the Declaration of Independence. Read these declared acts of tyranny, because those are the parliamentary practices that we declared our independence from, and we declared them as acts of tyrants. Okay, this despotic government, this is what we're talking about. And that's what Jeff Sessions is putting the kibosh on, and President Trump is putting the kibosh on, is that this is the rule of law. And in that proclamation, it specifically says the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution for the United States, and the Bill of Rights. Now, if we take a look at this, is put out by my Secretary of the State, okay? And this says Idaho Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and United States Constitution. And that is the state seal on it. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is put out by my Secretary of State. This is the 2017 edition. Okay, I even had a public defender here just last week tell me, "Oh, well, the Declaration of Independence isn't law." Really? Then why is the Secretary of State printing it as law, the law of the land? It happens to be the supreme law of the land. It came before the Constitution. All the Constitution does is creates our form of government and delegates certain power by consent. If it wasn't given by consent, it doesn't exist. You don't have that power. But yes, and this is something we've been putting out, is forget everything that you've been abused through and abused by these courts. Things are changing. This is a new era. The rule of law is back. And right after Trump first got into office, he put out over 100 different judges throughout the United States and instructed them to start upholding the rule of law and to spread the word that the rule of law is coming back. This was back in March of 2017. Okay. We're now almost, a year, 8 months, 9 months later, and it's starting to affect the change. So you're absolutely right, Marty. There is a change. And I've been hearing more and more people getting this stuff overturned and getting their kids back, more than I have in the last 2 years, just in the last month. So hang in there, folks. Have hope. Start figuring out, the very first thing to read, Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, including the Bill of Rights. Those are the first three main documents to read. Okay, once you understand those rights as the supreme law of the land, and Article 6, Clause 2 specifically says anything in the Constitution or the laws of a state to the contrary are notwithstanding. So if you read these three documents, and then you read your state constitution or your statutory law, which is actually not law. It's not law at all. But anyway, that's more along the lines of guidance documents. But if you find something in your state constitution or your statutory law that's in conflict with the supreme law of the land, what the Declaration of Independence says, or the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights, then you know that that's unlawful. And then that's what creates your right to a cause of action. Well, that's unlawful. You can't do that. We're going to court. What's the proper court? Federal court for deprivation of rights. And again, back to legal terms and using, because it's the word game. You have to know which words to use. So it's a trespass upon property and a deprivation of a right. It's not violation, not anything other than a deprivation of a right. And the claim and exercise of a right cannot be converted into a crime. Miller versus U.S. So that's the best advice I can give to people, because I know I'm getting busy. Chris is busy. We're only just one guy, and there's only 24 hours in a day. The best thing that we can do is teach you right now. And this is what we designed the call-in show for, is if you want to call in and talk about a specific part of your case or what to do there, well, we're willing to do that. But Monday nights we talk law. We talk law both nights, obviously, but Monday nights is just dedicated to teaching you the law and what it says. Help explain what it means and how it's...
Just real quick, I can tell you how this case unfolded. Was I filed an amicus brief. Okay, so I'm not a lawyer. I can't represent anybody. And so I filed an amicus brief and listed 9 separate violations of the Constitution that were going on in this case. Nice. and that the judge was compelled to release the guy under the statute, because it says if you have a compelling reason to release him, then you can do that. It says that in the statute. And I said, well, the compelling reason is the Constitution, 9 separate violations of the Constitution. So we're going to find out right now from the court if the Constitution is a compelling reason to do anything. And so the judge went through all the same gyrations he's gone through. We've had 3 separate hearings already. And he just came up with a different result, saying, you know what, I'm going to let you out. That was what happened today.
And totally not the normal, is it?
So there was no discussions about all the calisthenics of rules and even statutes. Okay, so in the brief, it simply said that the Constitution trumps everything, and here's what the judge is required to do, and then we put a copy of his oath there saying that I will follow the law and the Constitution, everything. So if there was a conflict between the law and the Constitution is a supreme document. Correct. And so you have to follow the Constitution. Okay, so if you say that something else trumps the Constitution, well, then now we're in a whole new world. Now we're in the twilight zone. Now we don't have rule of law anymore. Okay, yeah. So he was in a box. Yes. And so that's how he reacted. He says, "I'm going to fix you guys. I'm just going to let him out."
Hey, Marty, to add to your what's happening to you, I think, or what just happened to you, I think there's two reasons it's happening. Number one, the people are now becoming more aware of what's going on in the courts. There's more people involved in calls like this and groups that are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And second reason, like, for example, some of the people like Chris, for example, his case, it's way up the chain. So there's some awareness in the Congress, in the political powers that be. Now they're becoming aware that people know, and they're like, oh shit, we need to fix this before it really becomes a problem. These people are waking up, and we can't just do whatever we want anymore. And that's, I think, the purpose of what Kirk, Ted, and Chris are trying to do here is to help get that awareness out so that it makes it happen faster.
Yeah. All you have to do is pick them up and speak it.
I'll tell you even one step beyond what you just now said is, the people are waking up in large numbers, is that these pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered, and these guys are hogs. Okay, well, you got to make $1,000 an hour to keep your three mansions going. Okay, well, and there's millions of attorneys out there in the same boat. I mean, we're talking about a collapse of the country. Everybody's feeling it, and so we're at the point now where, like you said, okay, there's people are waking up and everything, and the term that I've heard bandied about now, that I haven't heard on this discussion here, but I've heard on other discussions, is something called the family court rebellion. I mean, those are the words that I'm hearing bandied about. And so I think these guys are starting to understand that, maybe we're at the point where the people are going to say, it's time for us to try going a different direction and see if that might work better.
Are you aware of what's happening out here in the Northwest?
What, judges running amok and stealing children and selling charging people, taking people's life saving?
Stood up to FBI and the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, taking their farmers' lands. We had hundreds and hundreds of people stand up. It's called the Bundy Ranch down in Pahrump, Nevada. Okay.
Well, I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. Now, there's another twist to this that you probably haven't heard. Is when you say family court rebellion, you think about, armed rebellion, and you think about people taking up arms and all that kind of stuff against the government who's been oppressing us in these family courts, okay? But it's really not. It's really the lawyers and the judges who have gotten together to steal our money and take away our constitutional rights. Those guys are rebelling against the United States of America, and the people are going to put down, are in the process of putting down that rebellion.
Well, I think you're correct in that too, Marty, because I'll tell you, initially in my case, I had an attorney. And when I said, listen, why aren't you standing up for my constitutional rights? And he said, I don't have time to defend your constitutional rights. And then I said, you're fired. So the attorneys don't want to hear nothing about it.
Chris Hallett does. You're being paid to do that. That's an emoluments violation. That's an unjust enrichment. There's a reasonable expectation when you contract with these attorneys that they're going to defend your rights. But this bar attorneys is the root word of attorney is a torn, which is to take your property and give it to somebody else because their first allegiance is to the court. It is not to you, and that's unlawful. That's fraud.
Well, so the foundation of the foundation of the problem that you just described to me, where the attorney says, I don't have time to represent you and defend you, is that he's not regulated by the people. Attorneys are regulated by attorneys. Okay, so guess what? Okay, and then if you read the oath of office that they swear when they become an attorney, okay, in Arizona it says you swear to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the state of it and the U.S. and everything in the form provided by the Supreme Court. Okay, that means court rules matter and everything else is a reference document. This is the oath that attorneys swear in the form provided by the Supreme Court. I mean, it's right there, black and white.
With that is that's not the official oath of office per Article 6, Clause 2 and 3. And not only
well,
that,
it's in the court rules in Arizona. And so I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying is that these guys have got their little club set up to where it's the one hand washes the other. And, the whole objective is to churn these cases into $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, banana splits for the attorneys. And they have, they have to have people hating each other. That's necessary. And the whole thing is just a poison to us.
Right.
But it's a cost of doing it. But it's all a cost of doing business to them. You say.
Well, I think that's where Chris Hallett actually started his case, was on the monopoly aspect and the non-regulation of the bar. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember you starting out with.
It is the monopoly. And so thinking about this, okay, Title 74, this Idaho code, Title 74, Section 201, the people of the state of Idaho do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies so created. And in our form of government, we consent to creating the agencies based on our intent of creating the agency is what they're supposed to function, how they're supposed to function. So the first problem we have here is that the Idaho State Bar is really not an agency controlled by the people, regulated by the people by law. So therefore, in and of itself is unlawful practice of law, because they're just a private corporation. It's a club membership. It's an association, American Bar Association, just like the National Rifle Association. Does the National Rifle Association have the power to issue a license to kill people? No. Does McDonald's have the power to issue a license to sell hamburgers? No. It's a private corporation. It's a club. And I'll call it what it is. It's a cult. C-U-L-T. Cult.
Even more to that, it's a cult that has taken over the United States government.
It comes from the British Crown.
Who just said that?
From the Pope, from the Roman Catholic Church.
What's the name of the guy who just spoke? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Darren. My name's Darren.
Or Darren. You talking about Darren? Darren Mikowski.
Oh, is it Darren? Yes. Oh, Darren Mikowski? Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
I'm trying to... Because I might want to discuss some things with you offline.
You're not CIA or anything, are you?
No, those guys are worried about me, so I'll tell you that.
Well, if you, what's your name? It's Marty, right?
Marty Lynch.
I am on Facebook, and I have commented in the section. If you'd like to add me as a friend, we can chat after this.
That's fine.
Yep.
So if I scroll down here, I can find you.
Should be able to.
Yeah, and actually, I'll just pop something in there and say, "Hey, Marty," and then you can just see from there.
So in the Declaration of Independence, and I know you're going to love this, Marty, because I know you tout this all the time. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably, wait a minute, did I miss that?
Pursuing invariably
trying to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right.
Yeah.
It is their duty. Okay. So not only is it a right, but it's a duty. Here's that word again, duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Okay. So we have the right, and I'm actually quoting that right there when I go in to represent my buddy on January 10th. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a member of that club. I'm very well versed in the law and know it, most of it right off the top of my head, at least what I have right here in front of me. And if I know at least know where it's at, some days, I guess. I pull this open and I can read it. It's called judicial notice. This actually has the state seal on it. So this, I can put the court under judicial notice. This is what the law says as it is written. And I am here to throw off such tyrannical government, namely depriving us, in many cases, of the benefit of trial by jury. And for instituting people in, where is this here? for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with the power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever. That's a declared act of tyranny in the Declaration of Independence, which is half the reason why these attorneys don't want us to know that the Declaration of Independence is law. Because when you start quoting that, heads are going to roll or be hung, because that's the way it was. That is a declared act of tyranny, and it has been declared abolished in this country, and they call it treason. We call it treason. Title 18, Section 2381 in the United States Code. That is capital felony treason, punishable by death.
Chapter 115 has all that stuff in it.
Chapter 115. Title 18.
Type in 18 USC 18 USC Chapter 115. See what comes up.
Yeah, it's a chapter. I go directly to the actual section 2381.
Because the reason I'm saying that is because 2382, 83, and 84
right
have items in there that say that we have to be very careful how we tread. Okay, it's necessary for us to identify who's rebelling against who.
Right.
Okay, so you don't want to be on the wrong side of any of these statutes. You don't want to be on the wrong side of any of these statutes.
Right.
These crooks are the ones that are violating the Constitution, not us.
Right.
Okay.
They're giving aid to our enemies.
But if you go in there and say, I'm going to pick up a rifle or something and I'm going to do whatever I do in Oregon or whatever, okay, now all of a sudden you're on the other side of that statute. You wind up like those 8 people in Colorado. Okay, so I'm not going to go there. Okay, all I'm going to do is point out that
you have the right to defend your life, your liberty, your property as you see fit. That is a natural right. That is a fundamental right declared in the Second Amendment. And that right shall not be infringed. Now, you want to talk about the militia?
Right.
Let's talk about the militia. Who is in the militia? Do you know, Marty?
Under 45, I believe.
Hold on.
I don't remember. I don't remember seeing. It's not. I don't remember seeing that defined in the Constitution. There's your answer.
Right. So the militia is everyone, because we're back to the constitutional republic where we are self-governed. Okay. The militia is everyone between the age of 18 and 64, 18 and 64, something like that. And then that's what we call the unorganized militia. And then you have
stipulation
the
of
organized militia.
able.
Huh?
You have to be able.
Right. And it's supposed to be a man. And that actually says, that's what it says in my actual constitution right here, Idaho Constitution. Because that's left to the states and the federal government. And that's our police force, is our military. We're not supposed to have police force. We're not supposed to have a standing army. But our militia is broke down into three parts. The unorganized militia, which is everybody, and that's why everybody has to have the right to keep and bear arms to throw off such despotic government. Then there's the other two parts. One is federal military, and the other is the reserves for the state, for the governor to call in. Okay? So that's it. That's our police force. We're not supposed to, the 10th Amendment restricts that. But right here, persons subject to military duty. This is Article 14, militia of the Idaho Constitution. All able-bodied male persons, residents of the state between the ages of 18 and 45, shall be enrolled in the militia and perform such military duty as may be required by law. But no person having a conscientious scruples against bearing arms shall be compelled to perform such duty in time of peace. Every person claiming such exemption from service, this is weird, from service, shall in lieu thereof pay into the school fund of the county of which he may be a resident, and equivalent in money, the amount and manner of payment to be fixed by law. But then we go over here to section 6 of the same article, importation of armed forces prohibited. No armed police force or detective agency or armed body of men shall ever be brought into this state for the suppression of domestic violence except upon the application of the legislature or executive when the legislature cannot be convened. But then you go back over here, legislature to provide for enrollment of the militia. The power has been limited by the legislative branch, by Constitution, what they can actually do. And what we're talking about is importing is not necessarily like putting it in a box and bringing it and shipping it over here. That's importing. Yeah, of course it is. But there's many different definitions underneath import. It also means bring into being, as in establish it as law. So the state of Idaho, by Constitution, is not allowed to bring into being police forces or detective agencies. Period. That's the limitation right there in law. So long as it is not repugnant to the supreme law, we're good. And it isn't repugnant because we're supposed to have the military is all we're supposed to have. We're not supposed to have FBI. We're not supposed to have CIA. We're not supposed to have BLM, which is Bureau of Land Management, not Black Lives Matter. So if you hear me say BLM, it's Bureau of Land Management. That's who we deal with out here on the West Coast predominantly. If you take a look at a map of the United States and you see what land the federal government is claiming that they own, there's a huge swath over here on the West Coast, right there, pretty much all the way from Canada down to California, Texas, that area there, Nevada, straight down through Idaho, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, Nevada, California. Federal government is saying that they own that land. But Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says you're only allowed to own 10 mile squares, the seat of government, which is the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. And for military purposes, by the consent of the legislatures of the state, for forts, ports, arsenals, magazines, and other needful buildings for military purposes. And that's where admiralty jurisdiction is allowed, on federal property, the military base. That's it. Because that's what we instituted government for, was the protection of our rights from foreign invasion to be imported into our law. Any law that is repugnant to the common law. That's foreign. That's foreign to our form of government. So,
well, here's what Jefferson said. He said the purpose of government is to protect us from criminals. And then he said after that, he said the Constitution is necessary to put chains on the government to keep them from becoming criminals.
Right.
And so when the chains of the Constitution, when these guys wiggle out,
Benjamin Franklin, the difference between a democracy and a republic. You know that quote?
No, lay it on me.
Okay, so a democracy is two wolves and a lamb just voting on what to have for dinner. A republic is a well-armed lamb objecting to the vote. That's why we're not a democracy. We're a republic by consent only, and rights cannot be put to a vote. My neighbor can't decide that I no longer have the right to freedom of speech.
Okay, Kirk, can I stop you for a second?
Sure. Well, not stop me, but
can you get into more of the ways that people consent without their knowledge and still are as accepted as consent? Because you're saying it's by consent, but I'm telling you that all these courts are going to tell you you consented in one way or another. So explain how that happens.
Well, first of all, the number one thing I always look for in anything is fraud. Because if you can prove fraud, and the burden of proof is always on the moving party. But how we get into this stuff is, okay, in the 30s, 1933, I believe, actually it was 1910 with the birth certificate. Okay, the certificate of live birth. What is birth? A ship births. Okay, a bill of lading. It says, here's what's being delivered. Okay, your child is birthed like a ship and delivered to the government. And you sign that affidavit, and then they issue you a death certificate. I mean, a birth certificate. No, it's a death certificate.
Well, hold up, Kirk. Let's go more into the courtroom scenario and as far as consent goes, because I think that's what people are listening to because they're having issues with some court. So let's not go all the way back into history, but in today's world, what are these courts accepting as consent or using as consent that you're maybe not aware of?
Right. Okay. So this is why we have to understand attorneys and why they do what they do. Again, as an attorney, they are to attorn you, which is take your stuff and give it to somebody else. But they also go in and admit the jurisdiction. Now, in propria persona, and I'm looking in my Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition right here in front of me. In propria persona, in one's own proper person. It was formerly a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona, because if pleaded by attorney, they admit the jurisdiction, and as an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. See pro se. So you don't ever want to go pro se. You always want to go in propria persona, because or hire an attorney, because they go in, they admit the jurisdiction and take leave and say, well, whatever happens from here on out happens to Joe Schmuckatelli over here. And by the way, you're going to pay me to do this. Oh, and if you lose, the other side's going to make you pay their attorney fees as well, because that's in their rules of procedure, their rules, their guidance documents. So that's one term to understand, in propria persona. And how to object to the jurisdiction, which is personal jurisdiction. So if your right, marital rights or parental rights, which come from the law of nature, have nothing to do with the establishment, support, or management of the government, why are you being subjected to this jurisdiction? Because there's no personal jurisdiction. This is my property. Rights as property. I can read that to you right now, too. Property. So we all understand property. Property isn't what you really think it is. And this is the word game, okay? Back to the word game here.
And you can get your window split out on the
Okay, property. Here we go. Property. That which is peculiar or proper to any person. That which belongs exclusively to one. In the strict legal sense, an aggregate of rights which are guaranteed and protected by the government. What do I mean by protected by the government? We, the people, are the government. We are self-government. We created the Constitution. The Constitution is actually for those who are bound by oath to uphold it. Not us, not we people. That Constitution is ours, our property. They're supposed to abide by it. It's an honorary position to be a public servant. So everybody, I don't care who you are, if you work for government, you work for us. You're the servant, and you shall be bound by oath or affirmation. That is Article 6, Clause 3 of the Constitution for the United States of America. Because nobody in a position of public trust without an oath shall exist. In law, it doesn't exist. We create the agencies, and we do the intent of that agency, and then see what's happened here. And this is part of the guidance documents that Jeff Sessions was talking about, Marty, is the agency is under the executive branch. So what the legislature does, even though they do the legislative intent, our intent of creating the agency, the executive branch, that agency gets to promulgate their own rules, policy. And it's gotten out of hand. So you have the executive agency telling the judicial branch how to rule. Well, this is our law. This is what our policy says. Well, I'm sorry, that is not law. Statutes, rules, regulations, ordinances, policies, code, because that's where you find statutes is in the code, which is supposed to codify the law, this law, the Constitution, what powers we delegated. And if it's not been delegated, it's reserved to the states. So if it's prohibited in the Constitution, then it's prohibited. There's no authority. If it's not delegated, there's no authority, because that's how a limiting contract works. You're limited by the terms and conditions of the contract, the Constitution, because the contract is the oath of office, your oath of affirmation. That's the contract. And that's perjury of oath of office, perjury of the contract. You have to sign it and swear before the Supreme Court. That's what they said. That's what is in the law. That was delegated, okay? How that all happens. And if you look in your code, your statutory law there, sometimes you'll see it in your Constitution. It'll even say, this is what the oath is supposed to say. Most of the time it'll be in your statutory law, but you know, not all statutory law is unlawful or unconstitutional. That's what we delegated. We delegated certain things in the Constitution for us to regulate. One thing that we didn't delegate was the common law, our property. That's a trespass upon property and a deprivation of a right. Title 18, Section 241 and 242, deprivation of rights while acting under color of law. That is a felony. And if it involves kidnapping, we can seek the death penalty. And that's where we're going with that. Title 18, Section 643 involves the emoluments violations. But hurry up, Congress. Can you hurry up and actually define that for us? Right, Chris? I know you're hiding out over there, Chris.
Sorry, doing multiple things at the same time. And yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Yep. All right, so I didn't even realize what time it is. It is almost 9 o'clock. So we almost gone 3 hours tonight.
Well, we lost an hour on religion.
Oh, we didn't lose an hour.
We lost an hour. That's something we should talk about privately.
Oh, no, that's law.
Sorry, Kirk. I just had to bust your balls.
That is law.
No, it is personal. To
some
some extent, that is personal preference, and that we should clear up personally.
That's where you're mistaken. You keep trying to interject that. That's that brainwashing, like my nephew. Oh, that's just an old document. That doesn't apply today. No.
Never put those two things together.
Something else.
I've already proved it. I've already proved it in law.
Right. So this is what we'll do. And so Kirk and I will talk about this privately at another time.
It's going to be the same thing. You have the right to your opinion how it should be, and you don't. It's a fact of law.
It's just what I want to make sure that we're all on the same page is, whatever your religion is, you can practice your religion. If you don't believe in religion, you can practice your non-believance in religion. Whatever your higher power is, correct, you can believe in that higher power or non-existence of a higher power. The thing is correct, who wrote
correct
our...
But you're still subject to the law.
But the law says about God. They mention Christianity because they were Christians. They're not saying that you have to be a Christian to abide by law. They're not saying that law is based on Christianity, because our law comes from before Christianity. You know?
No.
It does.
1776.
If we're going to talk about the Magna Carta that far ago,
right, that's
and the fact that a lot of what the Magna Carta is based on are Roman laws, Christianity did not exist
Roman Catholic Church.
But civil law, especially contract law, comes from Roman times. Before
Roman civil law, the contract law was actually 600 AD.
That comes the civil law comes before Christianity, before Jesus was here.
No.
Yes.
Well, the Roman civil law. Yes, that came before Christianity. Yes.
And so what we need to
Magna Carta.
That might be where we need to
by 1215.
That might be where we need to maybe focus our efforts on our contracts based on that civil law between two people, because religion has failed us. The courts have failed us. It's not repugnant.
Trust me, you don't want Roman civil law. That's what we declared.
All I want is a contract between two people, just like if I was building you a house. That's all I want. I can.
You can't convert.
I can, and I will.
Held
proper contract
and convert that into a privilege, license, and attach a fee to it.
I'm trying to take the fee away. I want to take the fee away. This is new, bro. This is new. Nobody's had a private civil marriage contract. This is the only way we fix it. This is the only way it gets fixed.
Okay.
Right, and let me clarify what your intent is, Ted, because I think I get it. You're saying if the government is going to remove your intangible property, which is your rights and your beliefs and your decisions, then they should somehow compensate you for it. Otherwise, get the hell out.
Well, the thing is I don't want anything from the government. I don't want anything from religion. I want a fucking I want a business contract with the person I'm marrying. I want to be like, look, we're getting married. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But hey, maybe I don't want to spend the rest of my life with you. Maybe I want to cut that contract in half. It doesn't matter about God. It doesn't matter about the courts. I just don't want to be with you anymore. So we need to figure this stuff out.
Where does marriage come from in law?
It doesn't. This is new.
Yes, it most certainly does.
No, a private contract. You're saying it doesn't come.
No. Where does marriage, that's the word you're using, where does marriage come from?
I want a private contract between a man or woman, or a man and a man, or a girl and a girl. I want a private contract that makes me above the state, that makes my child equal to me above the state. And we're not getting it fundamentally from the courts. We're not getting it fundamentally from the church. We're not getting it.
Where does it come from in law, Ted?
It's there. But if we follow the church's guide, it's gone. If we follow the court's guide, it's gone.
Show me the evidence to support your claim, because I can.
It's new. We need a private civil contract. Brand new.
No. Where does marriage come from in law?
The Ninth Amendment. Ninth.
Huh? No. Where does it come from in law?
I don't fucking know, dude. I don't know. The Ninth Amendment is what's supposed to uphold it, but since the lower courts have eroded it, the same way the churches eroded it, we need something brand new.
No.
Yes.
You're not answering the question. You're totally avoiding
Now the song's over. 5 minutes later, we're supposed to end 5 minutes ago. Let's talk about this privately.
It's a natural right, Kirk.
It's a natural light. There's some nice lights out. Christmas lights, Hanukkah lights, whatever Muslims put up the lights.
Marriage comes from state law. It's not in the Constitution.
By the way, we're actually taking a break. This is our last show until Ted comes back from vacation, and I need a break. So I was gonna try and download the program and try and run all this stuff from over here, but you know what? I need a break. I need a break from this stuff.
Don't let me mess you up. I get passionate sometimes, and when I get passionate, I don't back down. So it's just a private conversation.
In this realm of things, when we're talking law, I deal with facts, truth, and evidence. So if you're going to claim that it comes from somewhere else, I'm going to ask you to provide that evidence because I can't.
I can't. That's why I produced your show.
And your argument is done.
If you want to talk about God's law, God created woman to assist man. So there you have it.
Yep.
Private contracts. That's all I want.
You can't have that. You don't
I'm going to have it.
To put that right to a vote.
I'm going to get it, baby. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to get.
That's the problem. Do whatever. That's the first law. That's called That's not lawful.
You know what? I think I should play.
Thank you all, Chris, Darren, Marty, Neely, Ed, and most definitely Ted. You rock over there, dude. You put this stuff together for us, make it all happen. I love you, brother. I love all of you, really.
I love you too, bro. Don't. We're all passionate.
You know, and again,
hey, I love you guys.
This is a show. And Crystal, yeah, dang it, didn't even get to talk.
I know, it's been a long...
Hey, so just to let you know, I've got my brief all ready for Friday. Got it all printed and copied today at 969 pages.
I heard it was over 1,000 pages.
So
that?
I heard it was over 1,000.
Makes truth to
so
my...
I'm at 969 just on evidence, and add another 60 pages for my brief.
There it is.
Is what I'm filing with the court tomorrow.
Unbelievable.
Is that not fucking... And I am the defendant, not the moving party.
It's epic.
Right. So this goes back to my comment I made the other day when I went to go buy a ream of paper, and I said, well, when you go to buy a ream of paper and 500 pages just isn't enough.
No.
So I
should post my... So yeah, I've got it all copied, ready to go. I have 47 exhibits, but 969 pages.
Wow. Yeah, Chris talks highly of you. I mean, we all do. And when you say stuff like that, it's to another level. You're not messing around. You're going to win your case, and you're going to be an example for all of us.
Yep. So yeah, it's thick. I mean, you're talking, I did my research. I mean, Chris and I've been working on this myself with just a little bit of input from Chris over the last couple of weeks. But for the most part, you know what? I mean, my son's in there reading it right now, and he is like, oh my God, Mom, can you hit him any fucking harder?
Yeah, probably.
No, I don't think so. You have not read how vicious it's not only, it's funny because it upholds the integrity of the court. It actually makes my ex-husband look like, it actually kind of, what's a good word? I'm actually coming to the defense of my ex-husband against the guardian ad litem, but I'm also attacking him in a very condescending, kind of an evil way.
No.
I guess it's kind of a bad way to say it.
Okay. Before we end this here, those of you that are still, that are already called in and stuff, stay on. We're going to do the after show. If you would like to join the after show, you can call into this number, put in the code there, 376-657-800 if you already have Zoom. If you don't have Zoom, you want to just call from your phone, you have to dial that other number, and I can't even see that on my phone. It's so small.
376. Oh, the number itself is
0968.
Yeah, 408-638-0968, and then the ID is right there, 376-657-800.
All right, much love. Merry Christmas to all of you out there. I'm sorry if you don't have your kids this year. I'm actually struggling trying to get my 3-year-old this year.
Are we really taking a break after this show?
What's that?
Are we really taking a break after this show, or are you just mad at me?
No. Dude, I'm not set up to do it.
Well, I'm good. I'm good until I leave. I'm going to still broadcast you as long as you want to do it. And Randy and Neil if he's doing a show, and Francesca, of course, until I leave. So right now,
you did end the show, right?
No, we're still live. So on the 3rd of January, there's an event in New Haven, Connecticut that has come about, and now Francesca and myself will both be in New Haven. And so we'll be driving on the 2nd and meeting up in New Haven, Connecticut on the 2nd and having an event about this National Citizens Arrest Day on the 3rd in New Haven. That's just happened as of today. No details have been ironed out. I really can't give out any information beyond that. But if you're anywhere in southern New England or New York and you want to meet me or Francesca, be in New Haven, Connecticut on the 3rd. That's where we're going to be. And then up until that point, Kirk, I'm going to produce everything. I'm just not going to do my own shows. I'll produce your show if you'd like.
Well, I thought you were headed out of town, though.
Not until the 2nd. I'm on the 2nd when I drive to New Haven. That's on my route to Florida, and after that, I'm done until late January. I won't be around my computer, and even bringing it with me, I don't know if I'll be in. I might be back the next week. I might not be back for 3 weeks, but through Christmas, if you want, I'm here to broadcast your show. That's all I'm going to do is I'll focus on you guys.
Well, Christmas is Monday, so...
Yeah, so that's up to you.
All right, so... Yeah, probably not. I'm probably going to take a couple weeks off here.
Okay. Not that you're mad at me.
Holidays and stuff.
All right, cool. All right, so...
Got nothing to do with you, no.
All right. So I'm going to end this show with the beginning of the show, since it was so wacky. Here we go.
Kirk is not an attorney. This is not legal advice. This is to be considered for educational purposes only.